Start over.
The
All right.
Here we
Live
go.
now. Here we are live. Welcome, everyone. It's your host, Humberto, your favorite Chilean, Vinny and Rob. I can't even get into it. Like, I might disclose it at the end of the show, but it's me, and we're going to have a tremendous show. You guys don't know. We have the best stories, and we're going to have a wonderful time. How you doing, Brandon?
Good, I'm sold.
Are you sold?
On what?
Amy, on how great of a show we're going to make right now?
Absolutely.
Connor, are we ready for this?
Hell yeah, man. Sold, but not sold out. Am I right?
Never sold out.
And also, nice to see that we all survived World War III.
We
How's
did.
everybody doing? The end of the world happened, apparently. We made it. Hence why I'm wearing nothing ever happens.
I'm a big part of the crew. Nothing
ever happens.
I thought we were going to have a better show, to be honest, but it's too early in the show.
No, I mean, you already started doing the intro halfway through the intro, so I mean, that already...
Yeah, already botching it. But
No, I was
anyhow,
going to say it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I know. I contained myself before I went too hard. All right, so what are we going to cover today? We have one of the... this is so sad. Like, this beef between two of my favorite people, all right? Donald Trump, great guy. I love him. It's funny. He's on it. And then Thomas Massie. He's my favorite guy in Congress by far, miles away. They need to make up. We're going to talk all about it. Then regime change. Brandon, he's a big proponent of our regime change.
I'm getting a little cold on it, though.
You're getting cold on it?
Yeah.
Well, you know, some people say things. You heard what Marco Rubio said. Then they said it's not. And then Trump said it is again. So we need to figure it out.
Well, the worst people in the world are people who won't change their minds or aren't willing to change their minds and admit that they might have thought wrong at one point.
Changing your mind, that's a very important skill.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the next thing. Like, allegedly, there's a chance, you know, that we might have sleeping cells. You know, if you this is like having wasp. If you rock the nest, something might happen, and it's probably not good. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about Israel's nuclear history.
Yeah,
all right,
that's
this
a fun
is a
one.
contentious topic, but we're gonna get all the facts straight, and we're gonna see what you guys think at
I
home.
fell down a rabbit hole, and I am disturbed, to say the
and
least.
solely responsible for that. But anyhow, we're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill that after the slim down that it had in the Senate, it's not so big anymore. So beautiful, you know. Like it's the first time that I'm not excited about someone slimming down. All right?
What do you mean? It's a good thing that
That
they
it got slimmed down.
Yeah, omnibus legislation. Don't you want single issue packages? We can get
Yeah,
into
this is
it.
still far from
We're
that,
going to
though.
get into
I know.
it. We're going to get into it.
The skinnier
all
the
right?
better.
That omnibus thing,
bills.
it needs to stop.
At least.
Anyhow, we have our tech overlords being admitted into the U.S. Army. All right, that's a big one. You love those guys, don't you?
They're the
Brandon?
top dogs.
They're the top dogs. Now they're in the army. And we're gonna talk about churches and people shooting at churches, bombing churches. This weekend was a crazy weekend when it came to the attack on Christianity. So stick to the end, because that's probably my favorite segment.
Ooh,
all right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, probably my favorite segment.
All right.
We're going to get straight into it. Amy, huge fan of this guy.
I love him.
You love him. I know
I
you
love
love
Thomas
him.
Massie so much. I feel like he's just one of the very true, authentic guys. He's not doing it for clout. He's doing it because he actually gives a damn. And I think that's exceedingly rare in every aspect of life, let alone Congress, right?
Let alone Congress. But before we get there, all right, I forgot this, and it's probably my favorite video of the year, all right?
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could print this video frame by frame,
Ah.
because we're so back. This is classic Donald Trump.
Anytime Donald Trump takes the tie off, you know he's gonna deliver a banger.
Yeah.
I thought it was a deep fake, though. Did you guys think it was deep fake at first,
No,
or
no,
no?
no.
I
No,
mean,
no, no.
Not for a second.
To Pat's point, what he said on the pod, like, presidents don't swear when they're addressing the public in public
actually,
settings.
we
It carries weight, though. You know, I mean, I think it was a
does.
lot more effective when he did it because it's like, if you have like a grandparent who never swears or anything, it's like scary when they do swear.
That's true. Like when Pat swears on the podcast, it's like, oh damn,
It's like,
you,
oh,
he
he's
really made a freaking
deadly
point now.
serious.
We actually did a little bit of research on this, and on the record, this is the first time a president is recorded intentionally swearing.
Yeah.
All right, because Biden, he had a slip up, but you know, he was
Hot mic, right?
Yeah,
Hot
well,
We
mic.
tend
It
to have
wasn't-
those at his age.
Yeah.
things happen. People
Nixon,
fart.
Bohemian Grove.
But he was recorded. He wasn't on
Right,
tape.
no, yeah, I
you
know. Yeah.
Lyndon Johnson behind closed doors every time a black person walked into the room.
Very racist guy.
Was he racist?
Extremely.
I don't know that
Racist.
much about
Oh, terrible.
Lyndon Johnson's
Yeah,
presidency.
poisonous, man.
Probably
Oh,
the worst
no.
president we ever had.
No,
Yeah,
that's-
honestly.
No, it's Woodrow
But
Wilson.
top 5 worst.
Possibly.
Woodrow Wilson, FDR, Lyndon Johnson, but
We can make a list someday.
there's a real
Let us know if
rogues
you want us to
gallery
make a
down at
list.
the bottom.
That's actually a good evergreen video.
Yeah.
It is
should
a
do
great
that.
video.
But
alright?
you know, guy right at the top, Donald Trump, no tie. When the tie is off, the leash is off.
The leash-
and
all
he
bets
just
are off.
the last time I think was he wearing a tie when he gave us the Ruth Bader Ginsburg reaction.
Someone should
Oh, I
fact
don't
check
know.
that. I don't know.
'Cause remember, he gets off the plane and Tiny Dancer is playing over a loudspeaker, and he's
is
like,
is it
"They're just telling me this now for the first time."
Connor? Is it
Wow.
no tight Trump? Is that an actual theory?
I've seen people discuss
really?
it. Or like,
I love this.
There's probably Reddit threads about
anytime
this.
he's not wearing a tie, he's in transit, he's going through something, and he gives way better commentary. So on that note, let's stop teasing everybody.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it,
Who in the
it's
world hasn't
spectacular.
seen it?
Who in the world
Who
hasn't
were
seen
you?
it? But this
Yeah.
is Donald Trump reacting to the ceasefire, not ceasefire, maybe ceasefire between Israel and Iran over the weekend.
Says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
All right.
And then walks away.
What a
Man.
I love it.
love it.
My gosh.
I-
The dropping bombs, the likes of which he's never seen before, though, that's the second craziest thing said, in my opinion, in that
But
entire thing.
he uses that phrase a lot.
What, do you think it's hyperbole?
Yeah, no,
You
no,
don't
he-
think he's actually... So,
Amy, he will use it for cake. Like we
Oh.
had a cake.
We
the
will make-
likes
of
of
the
which
lights
I've
which
never
I've
seen.
never
It was
seen
the
before.
best cake.
Yeah, he will use
Yeah.
it for cake.
He loves,
Okay,
it,
okay.
loves hyperbole.
That said, he did try to express the point that like
Israel
they
snaked
they,
them.
they were negotiating a ceasefire, and then Israel does what they have done multiple times in the past, where we're just going to keep dropping bombs until like the second the ceasefire takes place, and then if you fire back at us after the ceasefire, well, you broke the ceasefire, so we're going to keep it going.
Right.
So what Trump was referencing, you know, each side maybe agreed to a ceasefire, maybe didn't. Nobody was clear on who agreed first, who stopped shooting first. Iran had one missile that was in the air that got shot down, and then Israel retaliated, and it was a whole mess. He's expressing the frustration that everyone else feels watching this at home of like,
No, but
I'm
question,
tired of
though-
watching these people kill each other.
Question
Yeah.
though, like I mean, there's not fiber in my being that thinks that Israel wants this to end with this. Like I think that they're going to try with everything they have to make sure this is not the end of this, because I don't think this is the outcome they wanted.
Of course not.
Brandon, we're gonna get to it. All right, we're gonna get to it.
Well, don't get me all excited.
No,
and-
we're
and
gonna
tamp me
get to it.
down.
Come on, Brandon. All right,
You want me
get
to
you
con-
excited.
you want me to
but-
contain this?
No,
All right,
contain
let's
it.
go.
Think about it. You know, because talking about fiery. All right,
Yeah.
the back and forth between it's actually not even back and forth. I think Thomas Massie, he's been very polite.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very constrained. Very polite. He hasn't made any major attacks or even. Do you guys watch?
He's gotten better looking. That's what he's done.
Oh, he had a glow up, right?
Yeah.
We were just talking about
I've
this.
seen him
He
for the
looks-
first.
he
I've
looks
never seen this
good.
version of him.
Thomas Massie with no glasses and a little bit of a
With the
tan. He
beard?
lost
No,
a bit of
he
weight.
looks like Wolverine.
He's looking good.
Brandon, we just had a very interesting call. I can't say who said he's good looking. All right,
Yeah.
it's the
I'm
least,
saying it.
No, but it's the least
And I'm not
expect-
gay.
like,
At least you would never expect this
you never
person to
expect
say it.
this person. You guys will know it at home. You might see it on Friday. I don't know. But anyhow,
Bearded politicians do great things. Mustachioed politicians do terrible things.
Wow.
So-
this is a general
Yeah.
rule.
looking
that-
at you, Bolton.
It-
all right.
Nah, it helped Ted Cruz a little bit, but
Yeah, Ted Cruz grew
Miracles
out a beard, but like
impossible.
then the beard alternated back and forth, and it kind of wore off over time.
Yeah.
Donald Trump needs a beard.
Oh, I don't know if we can handle that.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's really weird to
no,
think
no, no, no,
about.
No. It looks great.
Really?
It existed before?
Yeah, no,
No.
it never existed because he's against beers.
Oh, they put AI on it?
Yeah, they put AI. He looks great. All right. So if we're gonna see it, it depends how he's doing on the midterms. We might see a beard on the midterms.
If he
We
came out
never
with
know.
some stubble one day, I'd feel like the world is ending.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, let's get the show on the road.
Go ahead.
Over the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Thomas Massie, one of the most honest politicians, and I never thought I would say one of the most honest politicians you ever see. He made this comment, if you can pull up the X
wow.
post, all right, calling the actions of President Trump in Iran unconstitutional, all right? And then after this, Trump went all out, all right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we can pull up the tweet right now. He went all out, Brandon.
Right at Massey's face.
Yeah.
Right in Mass's face.
Saying he wanted to primary him.
So, I
We
mean,
got
he
the
probably
True
probably
Social post.
can't.
Yeah, we got the
Oh,
two
there we
social-
Oh
go.
wow, it's a long one.
Yeah, he's not MAGA.
No,
apparently.
I'm just gonna give you a little taste, Brandon. I won't do the Trump voice, all right?
No, do it.
Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky is not MAGA, all right? Even though he likes to say he is. Actually, thank
We're
you for
good.
destroying the set, Brandon. I'm trying to read here, all
A
right?
little elbow.
No, our files.
No, our files.
The
All
archives.
right. Actually, MAGA doesn't want him, doesn't know him, and doesn't respect him. He's a negative force who always votes no matter how good something may be. All right? You can get the gist of the thing.
Yeah.
They previously had beef. This been brewing for
For
a
the
little
same
bit.
reason, too.
For the same reason. Because
It was back in what was it? His first term. It was
During COVID.
it was the COVID stimulus package, right? Massey objected to it, and also the work from home piece, and it was basically just like, this is going to cripple the economy.
Which it
and lo
did.
and behold,
That-
what freaking happened?
That $2
price of
trillion
everything's doubled.
$2 trillion stimulus package that Congress was allowed to vote on without having to show up.
yeah,
Yeah.
Their
They, ju-
debate.
they just did a voice vote, not an actual roll call. And Massey demanded a roll call, so they actually had to show up for it.
oh yeah, he
and-
drove all the
Yeah.
way.
And that's when Trump was like, this guy's a ridiculous grandstander. He doesn't belong in the party. The Republicans should kick him out. And then come 2022, Trump's no longer president. Massey is in Congress. Trump gives him his complete resounding endorsement. Says he's a warrior for the Constitution, and the Republican Party needs this guy. And now he's funding a PAC to oust him from Congress.
Yeah, actually.
good luck.
like quite literally.
The pact. I'm gonna give Trump one thing. He is the best at naming things. All right.
Yeah.
The name of the pack is Kentucky MAGA. All right. Because he made MAGA into his own thing.
There's a simple elegance to it.
There is
I
a simple
respect it.
elegance. Like, it's not directly attacking Massey, who's very popular there. Like, it's not called like "Let's get Massey out" pact.
MAGA
So-
pact.
So it's a Kentucky MAGA pact. All right. And his mission will be like coming up. I think elections are
Next year.
next year coming up is to actually get Massey out of Congress. What do you guys think? I'm gonna throw. You're gonna be last, all right?
Fine.
You're
Because
gonna speak so glowingly about
this is
him.
your guy, all right? This is your favorite guy, Brandon. How do you feel about Massey?
Oh no, I love him. I mean, I think the number one issue for everybody in the world, like whether they know it or not, is cost of living. And like the thing that drives cost of living is stupid spending. And he's a principled guy. He's always against stupid spending and reckless spending. And Trump, he has a lot of good things about him, and I've always supported him. Like I've been like the OG Trump supporter here. But I always think he's been stupid with managing money. Like whether it was in his business or with the government, he spends too much money. And like we went from saying we're gonna cut the military spending down 8% per year over the next 4 years to then 2 months later, oh no, we're going to do $1 trillion defense bill. Like, so I think that's idiotic. It's crazy. That's what's making everything more expensive. So I love that Massey cares most about the debt and the cost of living, because like I don't see anything else that affects more people day to day than cost of living.
If you put them neck to neck on a presidential race,
No, Trump would win because he's got
no. They
would
have
you
the same
want to win?
chances.
I don't necessarily think Massey would be like a great president because like I don't know if I think he might be like a little too hard-headed in some ways. But with what Trump has done, I would like to see it because I'm like somewhat disappointed in a lot of things that Trump has done with the economy and everything and spending. So I would like to see it at this point.
The Doge cuts would have been codified by now if there were 50 more people like Massie in Congress. Like, that is just a fact. And, like, that already, fiscally, we would be so much further. The debate around the big, beautiful bill and how it's going to just wreck the economy, create inflation in the years to come, we could seriously counteract that if some of these Doge cuts are actually codified. And he's been one of the biggest voices speaking up for that. And what has he got from it? Hate from Trump. For like literally
everyone.
From everyone, yeah, but because he's defying Trump, that's why they're hating him for it. It's everyone who's like Team Trump, who is afraid of being perceived as disloyal, who want to toe the party line. All of those people are coming after him too.
It's funny voting your conscience and voting your principles. Like he always votes on principle. It makes you a very unpopular guy.
It really
that at the
does.
same time will build weird alliances. You saw the. He was voting with the Democrats last week.
Yeah,
right?
the war powers limitation, I think.
war powers
He backs it with
limitation.
Ro Khanna, and then AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Pramila Jayapal come out and say, yeah, we're all on board. That is an optics nightmare for
Yeah.
Thomas Massie,
True.
who's trying to get a point across to Republicans. Like, Republicans, as a voting base, are very much anti-foreign intervention right now. They're
Yeah,
not-
so they say.
or so they say, but like the average sentiment is that like nobody wants to go to war with Iran among the voters.
I think war is the most bipartisan thing ever.
You think Republicans want to do it?
Yeah,
Why?
because it floods their donors with money.
No, I'm not talking about in Congress. I'm talking about voters.
Oh, not the voters.
the Republican
no.
voter
No, I don't think
base-
any voters are
of
pro-war,
course.
but I think everybody in Congress is
But
pro-war.
they're on board with Massie's whole proposal of like the president can't just unilaterally get us into war, which they've been doing since 1942. That was the last time Congress declared war. Everything we've done since the 40s has just been
emergency powers.
yeah, emergency powers and unilateral decisions and limited engagements with no specific declaration of war.
But how do you enforce that though? Because it's like if you say the president can't declare war, that's like essentially it already says that. So where you're saying the president can't take any type of action against a foreign country? Because I don't know if we necessarily want that. Because you want him to go through Congress every time he thinks he needs to take a swift action.
No, technically he can, but it's 60 days. I think it's 40 days of combat and then 20 days of getting them there and back.
Yeah, and anything that would lead to boots on the ground engagement, I think, should require some sort of congressional authorization.
Yeah.
And that's not to say
That's pretty broad, though.
That's not to say I trust Congress.
Like anything could lead to boots on the ground.
Exactly.
So anything the president wants to do with foreign policy has to go through Congress?
No, it should just be a check on your ability. Obama's drone strikes killed thousands of civilians with no authorization of war against the targets he was going after. In the wake of the Afghanistan pullout under Joe Biden, we launched a drone strike that killed a family of 10 to target one ISIS guy, and it's not even confirmed we actually got him.
And an American citizen died.
Yeah,
sad.
Obama killed American citizens too. Now there are all these problems of like when we keep having these unilaterally approved strikes and missions carried out in other countries, it always escalates into that.
What
But
if we
we're stuck in Afghanistan for 20 years
yeah,
with
it's
no
like
declaration of war?
protecting drugs, but
Of course.
what if you do have like a clearly identified high value target that you want to take out and you have the chance to, and it's like, all right, Mr. President, we can do it right now. We have a small window of like 30 minutes to do it. You want him to not be able to do that? You want him to have to go through Congress to do that?
Oh, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like I said,
But like there could be
trust
collateral
Congress.
damage. I know me either, but there could be collateral damage even if he does go through Congress and like goes through the long sophisticated way. Like if you're going for a target, you should be going after. There could always be collateral damage. But I mean, with what we spend on our military, there probably should never be collateral damage. They always brag how we could like shoot a rocket up a camel's ass from outer space. But like so how's it that we're constantly having all these casualties?
Well, I mean, as Israel proved in their initial strikes on Iran, they can blow up a living room and have people on the other side of the house be
Right.
fine
Yeah.
when they want to.
When they
Right.
want
But
to, that's
the rest of
key.
the rest of the time, they
Complete
just
and utter
they just
destruction.
do whatever they want.
I mean-
and same thing with us. Like, oh yeah, we can execute these surgical strikes. Okay, so why don't we do that more frequently?
Right.
Why do we drop a drone on a guy's car when there was a whole family in there, when he could have just waited till he got out and killed him in one thing by himself?
It raises a whole lot of uncomfortable questions because it's like when Trump was in power last time and when he's in power this time, like the thing I do like about his offensives is that they're like clean and fast and you don't see them coming. But it makes you wonder like why everything was so sloppy and like had so much collateral damage under the other presidents. Like, is like we were trying to stir up some terrorism by having a bunch of collateral damage.
Well, look at the Soleimani strike.
Yeah.
The last time he went up against Iran, and honestly,
was surgical.
it played out.
Yeah,
Played
so
out the
was
same
this.
way. It's like, hey, that guy's not allowed to leave the country. He left the country. Well, we dropped a bomb that shoots out knives on his car and then explodes for good measure just to make sure you're really dead.
Yeah.
Double dead.
Turned one of their
You're
leading
Clinton.
generals into a pink mist. And then Iran's like, well, in response, we're going to drop a couple bombs near your military base. I think like 2 guys got concussions from the force. And that was it.
Same thing that
Same
they
thing.
did this time.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we're going to strike your bases in Qatar.
Right.
We're gonna
In
call ahead and
like
warn you
1
that
hour.
they're coming in 1 hour.
You better watch
Yeah.
out.
All right, before we actually dive deep in this, and I want to go to you, Amy. All right, super fan of Massie. You think he can come out alive from this? Like, you think he's gonna be in Congress? Like, the super PAC is already going. Trump is getting his media apparatus rolling. He's done it before unsuccessfully. You think this time, your boy Thomas Massie is gonna come up on top?
Could very well. I mean, you see the support that he's getting, both financially. I mean, a bunch of people have already donated to his re-election campaign as soon as the internet saw what was happening and the attacks that were being levied against him. I think he racked up like $80,000 in donations already, something like that. I mean, that's, small money when you're talking about going up against a Trump appointed candidate. But I think that he has the court of public opinion on his side for the most part. I do worry about the right's kind of how we're becoming a little bit more like the left in the ability to kind of try to control the narrative and then excommunicate anybody from the group who doesn't toe the party line. I think that that's one thing that we all hated about the left. And that's literally, in my opinion, the definition of wokeness, at least some of the definition of what it is to be a woke individual, is this whole cancel culture thing, where as soon as somebody dissents or says something that you're in disagreement with, you just try to shut them down, cancel them, throw dirt on their name. And it's been unfortunate to see some people in MAGA and some people on the right do that to Thomas Massie. And not just on Massie, they've been doing it on other issues as well, straight up strawmanning people's arguments as soon as they try to dissent, when there's room to have a little bit of nuance within the party. You brought up something a couple of shows back about like the GOP Big Tent, and like naturally that's going to cause some division within the group. But if anybody is like the voice of reason within the party, I would say it's Thomas Massie. And this is the person that we should be listening to, honestly. Like, because again, he's voting with his conscience, not because anybody's lining his pockets, not because he has some type of a vested interest, not because he wants clout or to be famous. The man literally lives off the grid, has chickens, built his own tractor, has a completely like self-sustaining property. He doesn't care about any of this materialistic shit. He does what he does because it's important to him, because he wants to help people, and we need it. We freaking need the help when you look at our policymakers and the people who are in charge right now. And Trump's doing a good job, but I mean, there's also the question of foreign interests as well. And that's one thing I respect the heck out of him, is you can literally trace the funding and the donations. He doesn't take money. He doesn't take money from AIPAC or from any other group that's trying to shape the narrative or, control his opinions.
I was going to comment on that. The way he's exposed lobbyists is probably the best thing he's done. Like, I mean, you remember he went on Tucker and said every Republican in Congress has an AIPAC guy.
They said every person in
Or
Congress.
every person, but he was specifically hyping up Republicans or, the worst, most susceptible to it. But lobbyists in general, they all hang out over on K Street, and then they walk over to the Capitol, and they buttonhole your congressman and get him to do stuff that the big money interests want, not what you, the voter, want.
Yeah.
And then another point I want to call attention to, back in that Truth Social post that Trump wrote, the big, long thing, one of the insults he used against him was calling him Rand Paul Jr.
Yeah.
As like, this guy's just like a Rand Paul Jr. who says no to everything. Look at Rand Paul's track record in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
That's not an insult. I get that Trump doesn't like Rand Paul either for the exact same reasons, but that's not an insult. Rand Paul has been pretty solid, particularly coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
And look at this dude's vote. Like, do you know what his margin of victory was in his last election?
It was substantial, wasn't it?
Yeah, guess. Anybody?
I won't remember.
Massey?
Off the top of my
Yeah.
head.
15 points.
Try 99.
99.
He won 99.6 to 0.4.
You
Wow.
kidding me?
Yeah.
All right.
That was
Wow.
2024. And then before that, it was 75 to whatever, and then to 25. And then before that, was like he had like 64%. So it's just monstrously going up every year. Like not a single person in Kentucky 4th district voted for the other person. So they.
So
love,
you think
they
he'll be
love-
fine?
Yeah. Like
All right.
what's is Trump
Well-
gonna like pay every single person who in the voting block to vote for the other guy?
That's what makes
No?
the difference is that it's Kentucky, so there's no chance of it flipping blue.
Right.
But if there's Massie versus a Trump-endorsed loyalist, then it might be more of a toss-up. But Massie's extremely popular with his own people.
And it's like a 200,000 person district, so it's
Yeah.
like a small tight knit community.
Exactly.
Like they know exactly who he is and what he stands for. Like if you're beloved by your district, you're set for life.
If
Well,
there's
like
already
AOC.
people, there's already
Yeah.
people here in Florida. Like, there's a lot of people at Valuetainment that this is their favorite congressman. If even we can recognize that here, we have nothing to do with Kentucky. How do you think the people of Kentucky feel? It's probably like cranked up by like 10x, right?
Yeah, they probably
they
like-
probably love and appreciate him even more.
But there is something I
wanna
want
be
to comment.
governor.
Something I want to comment on about the fight between Trump and Massie, because I agree with Humberto. It sucks that two people who are both really good in their respective areas are constantly butting heads like this, and it's not what you want to see. It feeds the media narrative of the MAGA base is fragmenting, and this is really just another version of the exact same thing that drove a wedge between Trump and Elon Musk. It's Trump nationalism that doesn't care about the budget versus a budget hawk who views the deficit as the most important thing in the world.
That's a
Well,
great
everybody
point.
cares about the budget, but just like half the people in the base are like so blind and loyal to him that they'll just go like if he
But
comes
it's-
to says the craziest thing, they'll agree. They're like
It's not even
psycho
blind
Laura
loyalty,
Loomer.
though. It's the fact that Massie wears that pin he made that
The debt clock?
It's constantly ticking up with the debt clock, showing how much money we owe by the passing seconds. It's brilliant, and guys like Massie and Elon Musk care about the fact that we are trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. But you have guys like Trump, who Trump was catastrophic for the budget in his first term. But his approach to it is that it's basically monopoly money. We need to implement a nationalist government that secures our own interests, and we can bring the
Money
deficit
in.
down afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how are we spending all this money? And why is there a housing shortage? And why are there people who are running out of jobs? Why are we overburdened in all these social systems? Well, if we deport all the illegal immigrants, put tariffs in place to bring businesses back here, employ Americans before foreign citizens, that's how we reverse the budget trends.
Can we do it in 4 years though? And then
yeah.
what if a Democrat gets
No.
elected,
Exactly.
reverses all of that?
Okay.
We're even more worse off than
That
what we
is what
were.
Massie's whole objection to the big beautiful bill is
Yeah.
that the changes don't do anything in the next 3.5 years.
Right.
Trump only has 3.5 years left, and that time is going to go by in the blink of an
Blink
eye.
of an eye, literally. And,
mean-
and people are going to pay for it through, inflation and lower standard of living. That's just a fact.
That's
But-
why it
but-
sucks that the Doge was a crock of shit, because that's how you could actually attack the deficit. Like if you have to
It
go
wasn't
after
a crock of shit, Brandon. Congress
the
is
biggest crock of shit.
No, they didn't codify any of the cuts. I don't know
Yeah,
why
but the cuts
you.
were BS though. They were
But-
cutting
No, some
con-
of them were perfectly
What, it was
legitimate, and we're not here to debate
layoffs and
Doge right now. But
layoffs
they,
and
All
contracts.
right, Brandon. They started the conversation, a very important conversation we never had before.
About the deficit.
And I think to the point, and we're in the middle of two positions here, and I think he put it like when we were talking about this and you explained it to me like that. Like and let's say you're just walking and you get stabbed, all right? You go to the hospital,
Yeah.
all right? You will do everything and put all the resources at your, whatever resources you can get to not bleed out. You're gonna put it into like fixing your stab wound.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, they go to the, how do you call it, the finance office first. You're being stabbed, you have a stab wound here, and you go to the finance office first and go like, oh, how much is this gonna cost me? All right.
Okay.
So I think I like both guys. They're playing different strategies. Like I'm more on the side of Trump on this thing. Because he's right, it's monopoly money, and there's things that need to be
Like
fixed.
What do you
$14
mean it's
trillion
monopoly money? We can't-
$14 trillion is not an amount of money that exists. Like it is
It's
just
so much
it is just
money.
made up.
Y'all
No,
have no idea.
What we are-
99% of the money is debt though.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. these are not tangible dollar amounts that are held anywhere or changed from hand to hand. It is numbers on spreadsheets. And you have guys like Trump and the other nationalists who are saying, if it's all made up, why not just fix the problems? Who cares if that 14 trillion becomes 24 trillion, becomes
what the hell do you
34
think is
quintillion?
that causes inflation?
But
No, it's the printing of more money.
The
But-
deficit.
Exactly, but when it's
So going to
completely
more of a
made up,
deficit?
they're building something else that will fix a lot of those problems.
Yeah, they're trying to grow the GDP, which is going to help people who own assets, which is 4% of the population.
Yeah, but
so
guys,
it's not going to help
it's
people.
guys like Musk who want to grow the GDP. He talks about explosive
And
GDP
Trump has said that
growth is
too.
the only way. Yeah, Trump
and Lutnick.
obviously, and the smart people are aware that the GDP is an issue, and nobody wants GDP to go down. That's
Well,
not.
shit,
That's
I
No,
mean,
not
but
what I'm saying.
the debt to GDP is like over 100%. You can't sustain that. And like the biggest thing that would help people is
And-
the cost of living going down, which this isn't going to help the cost of living go down
Brandon,
one bit.
sorry to interrupt, but you can't fix it either. All
Fix
right?
what?
If we
The
do
debt to GDP ratio?
Yeah, if we no, you can fix the ratio, but you can't fix the debt. Like if we do everything right, like if we like clean house, get rid of Congress,
No,
get
no,
rid
I'm
of
not saying
everything.
pay off the debt. I'm saying stop adding to it because you're wasting a lot of money with the budget every year. Like
It's-
you're telling me we need to be at $7 trillion a year we're spending when the budget's $5. What they get when we're spending twice as much as we need to with the Pentagon. Like we get price gouged by like 50% by all these defense contractors. So that doesn't need to happen.
But these situations are self-propagating because, okay, we're massively in debt. We have labor shortages and housing shortages. What do? Well, let's import foreign labor. That'll help us boost GDP, drive up production. Well, the more people we bring in, the more people we incentivize to come live here, the fewer houses there are, the worse manufacturing gets. The worse our quality and standards are here, the more we have to ship things overseas to try to get better quality.
And
Yeah, and how is it that it's unaffordable to build a house when we have like the second biggest stockpile of lumber in the world? Like that makes no sense that lumber and cement, the two main things that you need to build a house, are astronomically expensive. So like that's something we can control with policy. And it's the cost of living. It's not about labor or anything. It's the cost of living. So like if you incentivize the hell out of people to build houses and to build get food in a cheap way and to build energy sources that are cheap, then that would give people more disposable income and that would drive GDP.
Another
But
fantastic
if
way
you-
to drive down or to resolve the housing shortage
To have
is
less
to
people.
deport 5 million
That's
illegal
it.
immigrants.
No, it's to build more houses. But yeah, deport them.
Brandon,
I mean, do a combination of both. Why not play offense and defense? And honestly, we need both types of guys in Congress.
do need
And
both
we
type of
we
guys.
need
Yeah.
we need Massies and we need Trumps. But the issue that I have then is don't try to cancel the person who dissents because we need you both. You both bring very valuable things to the table. And if we can find a solution that falls somewhere in the middle of those two, that is going to be in the best interest of the country.
Brandon and I have had this disagreement before, sometimes on camera, sometimes just in the office while we talk. The important part here is that neither one of us then goes to HR and tries to get the other one fired for disagreeing on this subject.
Right.
I think it's important that Brandon cares about the budget, and that is his specific focus. Brandon knows it's important that I'm arguing on nationalistic points. We have that agreement, and it's important for us to have that dialogue. So for Trump to be like, well, Massie disagrees with me, he's in the way of what I'm trying to do, let's oust him.
Right.
Like Amy said, that doesn't help anybody win. That
It makes
just
me
it
question
worse.
if he understands it.
But
Yeah.
he talks like that, all right? Let's give the guy a break.
He is
the
a fighter. He's
president,
very
all right?
combative.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
he was born
And-
rich,
and-
so like you
and
don't care that much about the cost of
moving
living
on
when
to
you're
the next
born
thing,
rich.
Brandon.
So that's a big
true.
part of it.
That's
How-
a great point.
What, you don't want me to talk about how he's a trust fund baby?
No,
It doesn't hurt as bad with
He
the
got
I
cost of
took a
living.
small
loan of
loan
$1
of
million.
several million
Yeah,
dollars.
But
Of
listen,
course you're not gonna care about the cost of living when
he
you're
is the
born into-
president. You know, he's the president. all
Yeah.
right? There's no small loan that you can get that will make you president, Brandon.
No,
all
I mean,
right?
there's people who become shitheads when they inherit money, and there's people who double down and become even better. So he definitely did that, and that's impressive. But
So I think he's done very well for himself.
yeah, but you're never going to appreciate the cost of living burden when you're born into a millionaire family.
We can agree that Trumps or Massies, if we have less McConnells in Congress, everything is going to be
Yeah,
fine.
it's the worst type of creature.
If somebody could start up a
Everything is
MAGA
gonna-
super PAC to get Lindsey
Are you
Graham
about?
out of
Yeah,
the Senate,
let's do that.
That
Like,
leads me
we'd be better
straight
off.
into the next
Why does he
topic.
get so turned on by
Huh?
war? You get so turned on by war.
He's a demon.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk. Is it time for regime change? All right? We've been getting mixed signals all last week.
You know what that means?
What do you mean?
I said, you know what that means? Mixed signals.
Well, I think he's under a lot of pressure.
No, I'm saying like I feel like that means it's going to happen if he's given mixed signals because the last two mixed signals he gave, like something really decisive happened while he was giving the mixed signals.
Fair enough.
Well, what was interesting about this is like JD Vance had literally just come out and said like, "Oh no, we're not interested in pursuing a regime change," and then literally, I think within 24 hours, Trump came out and made this post. Like, maybe the head should talk to the tail a little bit.
If
That's
we're
the misdirection,
really,
I think.
really cutting into what he said here, it's like, I'm not saying we want regime change. But what if Iran wanted regime change? Would that be a bad thing? Let's make Iran great again.
Quick show of hands. Who believes that they were actually on the precipice of having a nuclear weapon or nuclear capabilities? Like, raise your hand if you think that that's true. All right, good. So you guys think that the nuclear thing was made up?
I mean, maybe the enrichment of uranium had gone up to heights that have never before been recognized, but I don't understand the disparity in Tulsi Gabbard making her official statement in March to less than 3 months later, we're here in this position.
I don't know. Like,
I watched a whole video and that was taken out of context. All right.
I'm going to say no.
I agree that Iran is definitely enriching uranium. I do not think they are within weeks of getting a nuclear warhead. Funnily enough, the strikes didn't actually stop anything because apparently they moved all the uranium before the bombs dropped. So there's a good chance they have other facilities where if they were building something, they're just continuing it.
And now even more pissed off.
And now they're more pissed off and have more reason to do it.
We don't really know that. And I want to go, we don't know that. How would we know?
Well, actually, the Israelis spoke to the New York Times and said, yeah, and also Iran had a bunch of smaller nuclear sites where they had even more uranium. So even if they did hit those 3 sites,
Since
it wouldn't have been enough.
1992, they've been saying they're weeks away from getting a bomb. I'm pretty sure
that's true.
If you went into the deep rural country of Israel and did a historical excavation, you could find ancient tablets carved during the time of King David that said, "Warning, the Persians are only weeks away from getting nuclear warheads."
Yep.
I found 8 articles at least written since 1995 with all very similar headlines that are saying that they are either weeks or months or a year away. Like, I mean, how does that happen? How could they be weeks away for 30 years?
They try to tell you it's because we keep sanctioning them and bombing them and
killing
taking
their
stuff.
scientists. That was Adam's point, was we keep killing all of the scientists. That's why it keeps delaying the process. But I mean,
this is like speculation in general. Like, for example, Trump was very mad at I think it was CNN like a few hours ago about them leaking information. And then about them talking that the strike wasn't effective. All right.
Yeah, that's just shitty, non-patriotic.
Because
CNN,
it's dangerous, Brandon. All right.
For them to say that.
For them to say that.
Yeah.
That's a big deterrent. All right. Like Iran is not, are the only guys that want to see us, go down. You have nuclear, North Korea.
You see what Russia said? The former Russian president said that now they're talking about other countries that are nuclear powers giving Iran nukes.
But when I said, because here's the thing, for me, it's not about I don't have a dog in this fight, right?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, Israel is our ally, but it's like...
We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk down the street. I want to go to the tweet, because people took this, like, let's go back to the Trump, Truth Social. People took this very literally, all right? Pig Hegseth and JD Vance, they spoke that weren't interested in the regime change, all right? This was a tactical, one-off mission.
Yeah.
And as they were talking about this, Trump posted this, all right? This is clearly not a statement. He's just playing with the idea to see what feedback he gets back. He does that a lot. He will throw something out there. It's in his book.
It's a feeler,
It's a feeler. He throws something out there, see how people feel about it, and then, act accordingly.
Usually that doesn't involve deposing the tyrant ruler of another country that may or may not have nuclear weapons programs, but I mean, sure, go off, I guess.
The stakes get higher as you get older, and it used to be like Tiffany's air rights, and now it's this.
Yeah.
But do you think it's a good regime?
No,
general?
I think it's
certainly not.
I think the world would be a better place if it goes down. But unfortunately, Reza Pahlavi is like a cowardice, patriotic, vengeful seeking guy. I mean, I can't believe that you could have that happen to you and not want to get honor for your family's name and like seek revenge, but he doesn't seem to want to. And I don't know who the hell else would lead it. So it would be a disaster that we would be heavily involved in if we did do a regime change. So that's the only thing I'm concerned
I
about.
nominate Vincent O'Shaughnesy to be the new supreme ruler.
But
of
like I want to get into this, all
Yeah.
right? And I want to.
And we have a big question about this guy too.
We have two big questions here, all right? And this is my opinion that this doesn't represent. Like I think you have two types of states, all right? You have nuclear states and bitch states,
Yeah.
all right? Those are the two terms. You either have nukes or you don't have them. All right? It's a dangerous neighborhood. I'm horrified thinking these ayatollahs have nuclear weapons. Like to be 100% honest, as someone that grew up in the Middle East and seen it firsthand, this people they're crazy. All right? In every sense of the word. But then again, regime change. What's the way out? Like we talk extensively about Reza Pahlavi, who's a very nice man. We had him
Too
here.
nice.
He's very nice.
Too
we
nice.
we had him here in the studio twice. I got to say hi to him and everything. Is he the next guy? Is democracy a solution?
Well, then we helped them overturn their democratically elected leader by installing
The
Reza.
Pahlavis.
Honest,
Yeah.
like the CIA and the Mossad, and this is on record. Okay. They interfered with that to install him. So we have been contributing to regime changes, all right? We have already been
I haven't
meddling.
changed any
and
regimes in my life.
when you meddle with things, you can't turn around and be like, oh, well, isn't the consequences of my own actions? Like, isn't there a saying for that? F around and find out. We did that once already. Can we stop?
And we
Can
did-
we leave them alone to their own devices?
What do you mean?
We
have
did the
never-
79 one too.
Yeah, we've never liberated oil fields in Kuwait by giving a 7-foot-tall goat herder a bunch of weapons and training.
What do you mean
That's
we did
never
the
happened
79
before.
one?
Oh,
Because,
like-
I mean, obviously, public sentiment, some people loved it
Oh,
because
that-
there was
that was
the
a coup.
westernized aspect, but there are. Yeah, sorry, just explain what you
You know, the 79 Iran Revolution, like, it's widely
How do we
believed-
contribute?
By helping the Ayatollah. Like when he got exiled, like France put him up there, and they were helping distribute his tapes allegedly, like his tapes that you had to like do record by hand. You could do like one at a time. They were somehow mass produced and sent all throughout the country in Iran. So he had like what seemed like a lot of outside help from the intel agencies because it seemed like what's his name? Not Reza, but his father was getting like too big for his britches and getting cocky. Like they were the fourth biggest GDP at the time, you know. So like, they were pretty much the equivalent of like what Japan is right now. And it seemed like they wanted to like knock him down a peg, or at least they felt like they could have more control over that region with the Ayatollah than with the Shah.
Wow.
So
Well, like
yeah,
you look at the Crown Prince, and like Humberto said, we've had him on PBD podcast twice.
he feels that way.
Yeah. But it's like, this is a guy who has spent a huge chunk of his life in the United States. He lives in Virginia, which I think should raise a couple eyebrows because he's like up the road from Langley.
Yeah, yeah. Like
So let's say the Ayatollah was toppled and there was this massive outcry of bring back Reza Pahlavi as the new Shah. Is there any chance that that guy's not a CIA-backed puppet government who's going to run Iran on our behalf to be friendly to the United States? And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. If Iran turned into a client state of the United States and we were friendly with their government and we brought them into the modern world and everying, whatever.
Yeah,
But that shouldn't
oil
be our
goes way
business
down.
and certainly not our blood and money on the line for
and
it.
that's a great point because we're changing. What does this mean in the United States? All right, there's been theories floating around, tweets here, tweets there, that the enemy might be within our borders. All right,
Keep doing
I want to give you guys.
It's the fourth time with the
it's
cabinet,
so
dude.
close to me. It's like 1 inch away from my elbow.
Who, me?
No, this thing. I keep
that's swinging the
You should
elbow
stop-
around.
All right.
Messing with the archives.
So the State Department issued a rare worldwide caution alert. All right, on Sunday. I love I love those alerts. All right,
do?
I didn't get it.
That's the only thrill Humberto gets in his life.
I don't
He's
like this one in particular. It's dangerous and go very wrong very quick. But I always refresh the page in the morning to see what's going on.
Nice.
The state of emergency is what's it at yellow? It's like it's never been below moderate since
Yeah,
9/11.
but I don't know who runs the State Department, Their website is fire. They do a really good job at keeping it updated. So just check the State
Secretary of
Department.
State, I think, runs it.
I don't think he's a webmaster.
Oh,
for
no.
that. Is there a webmaster thing anymore? Anyhow, the alert lasted from June 22nd to September 22nd and warns of low-level cyber attacks against the U.S. networks by pro-Iranian hacktivists. All right, so those are activists
that are
nerds.
hackers. The
worst
nerds,
kind.
I like that.
As well as acts of violence against targets perceived to be Jewish, pro-Israeli, or linked to the U.S. government or military military in the homeland. At the same time, the border czar Tom Homan warned that there's about 1,200 Iranian nationals that cross the border illegally during the Biden administration. This is a disaster. Can we play the video right now? Brandon.
Yeah.
This is not good.
Oh no, not one bit.
And doesn't like they just think there's 1,200 people that cross the border. They don't even know.
You know what I'm even more worried about than like somebody genuinely being a terrorist and doing a terrorist attack is like I'm a firm believer that the U.S. has never had a real terrorist attack.
Brandon, you can't say that.
I can say that because
No, you can't,
Was it?
Brandon.
You want to go the Boston bombing? The guy was hanging out with the FBI weeks beforehand. 9/11. Why are they just sitting on that intel for weeks and then like amongst all the other things? Like, see, you're worried, huh?
I'm sorry.
His own words back to him.
Again,
Humberto's a Fed.
again,
Humberto's a Fed.
Boston bombing, 9/11, Pearl Harbor, like the Oklahoma City.
Brandon, come on. You're
Every
talking crazy.
freaking terrorist attack has a connection to the government somehow.
Let's listen to
So
Tom
I think this
Homan.
one is a bigger threat to have a connection to the government. Like if they want to go into war, if you want to start a war, you would get some schmuck from Iran to say like, "Hey, buddy, you want to be a hero and go to like whatever and get the virgins? Like here,
Brandon,
go do this attack."
There's real victims out there. Like
yeah, and it's even worse because it's the hands of their freaking government.
All right, let's
Yeah,
listen.
I think
Tee
it's
it up.
possible to split the baby on that one, though.
Yeah,
Like,
split the baby.
I think it's more so that saying never waste a crisis, right? I think that oftentimes when these things happen, there's a room with very limited amount of people in it, and they all get together and they say, "How can we spin this, or how can we use this?" Sometimes I think they were complicit in actually causing it in the first place, but I think that oftentimes when things happen, they try to pivot as quickly as they can to use it to their advantage.
The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. That is an the Japanese planned and pulled off. It is also true that FDR and his administration knew it was coming and let it happen to get us into the war.
Right.
Those two things do not necessarily cancel out, and that doesn't mean that FDR was on the phone with the Japanese like, please bomb our
No, but who's the bad guy in that situation? Like, we pay a shit ton of money in taxes for our military, for national security, for them to stop that. So if they say ooh, we see that coming, but we could really use that to our advantage if we let it happen. Like, let's
there's more than enough blame to go around.
Who's the terrorist there?
Yeah, there's more than enough blame
Are
to
you
go
more
around.
upset with the Japanese, or you're more upset with our government in that situation?
If the Biden administration and the establishment deep state more broadly wants something to happen, what better way to do it than to just throw open the borders and let people from every country possible come in and do whatever they want? If Iran wants to get sleeper agents into the United States, they can take advantage of our open border without coordinating with us because they see it as a big neon sign welcoming them into the country. Or it could be foreign nationals from any other country can come off and pull off false flag operations anytime they want to get us to go against their enemies. This happens pretty frequently. I agree with you. There have been false flag operations targeted against the United States constantly, including by allied nations. Google the Lavon affair if you're unfamiliar with that. That was a thing where Israeli agents were going to blow up a bunch of targets in the Middle East, particularly Egypt, and blame it on the Muslim Brotherhood to try to get the US and the UK to not leave their territories over there.
Wow.
So
Can we name a terrorist attack that doesn't have the government's fingerprints on it?
By the way, I asked in the chat, do you agree with Brandon? And for the most part, we're at 80% of the chat agrees with you.
That
My people.
That every single terrorist attack in U.S. soil has been a false flag. This, Brandon,
That has the government's either known about it or assisted in it.
okay, but that's two different things.
that is far-fetched.
Known about it is different than
Yeah.
assist with it. And
But
the
also-
know about it is the
yeah.
never waste a crisis piece, I was saying.
The-
No, but, like,
also the
never
difference
crisis
that
is
they
how you act afterwards.
are
but,
there
like,
fingerprints
knowing
on it or is it a
beforehand-
false flag? There's two different things. Like if the government knows about it or facilitates it versus one entity is faking being another entity to get us to do something about it. Like,
Can you name one though? Like seriously, name one, and maybe I'm wrong, but name one if the one comes to your head, like where it's definitely clear cut terrorist, no government involvement.
No, I mean, I'm not trying to erode the credibility of your point. Because
No,
all the
I'm
ones that come to
trying
mind,
I'm trying to poke holes in my own point. Like if I have a blind spot.
9/11, very suspect.
What, that the president's father was hanging out with the brother of the guy who did the terrorist attack?
The Las Vegas mass shooting.
Beyond weird.
Very weird.
Oh yeah.
But nothing proven, and I think that could be a true terrorist attack.
That's funny.
It was certainly a terrorist attack by more than one terrorist.
Yeah, we
Certainly
just have the
not
Saudi royal family hanging out there.
Certainly not the guy alone in the hotel room who had apparently like 15 ARs lined up in front of him with bump stocks, and that was all we accomplished with that.
And then his brother gets sent away with like the terabyte of the freaking.
And then charges were dropped against him on that. We covered that a few episodes ago. But back to the Tom Homan point. Let's play this video real quick because I want to comment on what he's saying here.
So I pulled numbers this morning just from a CBP under Joe Biden. There was 1,272 nationals of Iran released in the country between OFO and the Border Patrol. And you compare that to the Trump administration, zero. Right, zero releases. And right now, because of President Trump's leadership, we have the most secure border in my lifetime, most secure border in the history of this nation. So we have a secure border. That was President Trump's big win on securing this nation. So we're not releasing people in this country. Special interest aliens aren't crossing that border undetected. But under Joe Biden, we had over 10 million people cross that border. But my biggest concern from day one, beyond the fentanyl, beyond the sex trafficking women and children, were the 2 million known gotaways. Over 2 million people crossed that border. We don't know who they are, where they came from, because they got away, because Border Patrol was so overwhelmed with the humanitarian crisis that Biden created that over 2 million people crossed the border and got away. That is my biggest concern, and that's what created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen.
You know how many 2 million is? That people that they have no idea because they absolutely got away. They weren't even seen. And that's an estimate. That's a low estimate. It could be as high as 5 million people that just got away. You didn't even know. Like any foreign government.
And that's on top of the 10 million he said
They're
they already known.
Yeah. Like any foreign government that saw this opportunity of open borders, anyone can come in, and didn't get organized to send a few agents in, they're idiots.
Yeah.
They're idiots.
You know what I'm quite curious about, though? Like, this 10 to 20 million number, like, really baffles me because, you know, with numbers that big, like, you'd expect it to really show up somewhere. And you look at the states that have the biggest increase of immigrants, it's like a couple 100,000, maybe a million, but 10, 20 million is the total number. So, like, where are all of them?
If a lot of the statistics are manipulated, as we have seen, it won't show up there. But there are signs. The New York Democratic mayoral primary just last night, where Zoran Mamdani or Mamdani, a socialist Muslim who was born to Indian parents in Uganda. So I mean, you figure out what that makes him, I guess. just beat out Andrew Cuomo to be the Democratic nominee for mayor. The reason he's able to do that is because New York is just shy of 40% foreign-born. 40% almost of the people living in New York City were born outside the United States. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's no longer an American city. That is occupied territory
And
that
it's
has
not
been
just a
taken
city,
over.
it's the biggest city in America.
The biggest city in America. And that plays out
biggest city in the
everywhere.
world.
Is it the biggest
It
city
is-
in the
it is the
world?
biggest.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it
that.
needs to
There
be
you
saved.
go.
Yeah, exactly. But it might already be too late for it to be saved. Because imagine if, like, okay, we're really going to have a hardcore crackdown on not just illegal immigration, but legal immigration. We're going to start shipping people back to their home country, even if they came here legally, if they are criminals or, you know, engaging in other things that detract from society. I'm not saying that's the point. I'm just saying if you had that kind of crackdown, are you going to dump 40% of New York City? Suddenly there's 40% fewer people living there or working in businesses. Like you would decimate the city. Now, that heavy hand might be what's required to fix it, but you're certainly not going to find a politician who's willing to take that stance. But when you have 40% of the entire city being born somewhere else, it makes a lot more sense why suddenly a foreign-born socialist is now about to implement Sharia law by his own admission in the city.
I always wondered who runs New York, though, like, because I get the sense that it's like old money people that are kind of behind the shadows that we don't really know about, and So, like, I mean, what's their angle in letting this happen in New York? Like, the people who have the blackmail file on, like, Mayor Adams and Andrew Cuomo. Because, like, there was a blackmail file in New York. Like, anytime, like, when Andrew Cuomo stepped out of line, they pulled that shit right away. When Mayor Adams stepped out of line, they pulled that right away, too. So they have some weird things with the blackmail stuff with the politicians in New York.
Eric Adams came good, though, towards the end. Better. He was becoming very firm on his stance on immigration.
Which is why the blackmail file was tapped.
As soon as that happened, he got stopped by the FBI. They seized his iPad and 2 of his phones, disappeared with them for like 3 or 4 days.
All right,
then brought him back to it.
I proved your point.
Proved the point.
Yeah, thank you.
But
that's what I'm saying. So there's powerful
transgressed, and these are the consequences of that happening.
So who are those people? That's what I'm really interested in. I don't know the answer, but I'm really interested in that.
Brandon, I think there's a lot of donors. There's a lot of old money.
Yeah.
The Democratic establishment in New York is huge.
But it's also a federal
criminal
thing.
elements. Like,
It's like the people who built America type people.
Yeah, you got criminal elements.
Yeah,
that work
criminals built America.
outside the system. And you know what's funny? I don't know if it's I don't know how I feel about this, but he won by a large margin.
Yeah.
8 points, Connor.
Yeah.
8
The
points.
Muslim guy?
All right. So Chris Cuomo, his brother, he's been here. Nice guy. I like Chris as a person.
Not his positions.
Not
as
his
much,
position, but as a
yeah.
person, he's tremendous.
He's pretty
guy.
nice. He's been on the show
Very
before.
nice guy.
He was on Unusual Suspects a while back.
He knows everyone's name. He's a very personable person. All right, I'm gonna get destroyed in the comments for this. But this guy comes out of the blue. All right, he comes out of the blue. Nobody knew him.
Been an American citizen for 7 years.
Amy's been in America for
Longer than that. Going on 9 years.
You can run
in
for mayor.
October. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! Would you guys
So,
vote Dangerfield?
and don't be fooled. Like when you have
Pronounce the word Florida.
Florida?
Close enough. Florida.
Florida.
Close
Anyhow, people are here. Brace yourself. I don't want to be, a fearmonger here.
But you don't think it is a little bit fear mongering, because the sleeper cell argument and everything is exactly how they played it out after 9/11.
Yeah.
Of we have to go to Afghanistan and then eventually Iraq. They're building WMDs. They're a threat to our national security.
Right.
We need to promote democracy. They have sleeper agents in the country
It's
that
not
might
even a new
rise
playbook.
up.
Well, here's the thing. Can I say one thing really
All right.
quick? Before this official announcement even came out telling people to be on alert, you can always tell when the populist influencers are getting like a playbook or like I don't know if it's necessarily a script, but they're given some talking points. Because all of a sudden, people were posting the exact same thing with Laura Loomer leading the charge
Psycho.
that there was going to be not a false flag, that sleeper cells were going to awaken all across the United States and start waging war on the American people. She posted that. A bunch of other people started posting that. But every discerning person on X, they all shared those posts and were like, oh, this is the rhetoric now for a false flag. Okay, so
And watch when it happens too. She's gonna be the first and be like, "Oh, this is why we need to go and do a land invasion in Iran and overthrow the regime."
And also why we need mass Palantir surveillance here at home.
That's what she
Patriot
said.
Act 2.0.
She told people
right.
to use Palantir to come after the illegals in the riots.
But
she is awful.
But
Human.
Just to bring down the conversation, like I don't think it's a good look for anyone that if something was to happen, to start screaming false flag immediately.
Oh yeah, you want to do your due diligence.
I feel sad for every American that might be affected. I hope nothing happens, and I hope your shirt is true and nothing happens, and everyone
Do you
is
think
safe.
Lindsey Graham hopes something happens?
Lindsey Graham hopes all of us die screaming so that it gives him a chance to see a nuke go off over Tehran before he dies.
That's what concerns me.
Did you guys see the cities where they say it's most likely to happen?
Oh, come on. All right.
Fort Lauderdale is one of them. Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton. Because apparently that's where some of that is apparently where some of the most sleeper cells are.
Thanks, Ron.
There's nothing here.
It's what they said. I don't know.
Oh, your sleeping cell.
Oh no, they hit the Hard Rock Guitar Hotel.
Right. I mean, like Washington, New York, of course, Atlanta, especially like specifically near the airport. They're worried something could happen there. Is the busiest airport.
It's any place that has a huge immigrant population.
Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton. I was so surprised to hear that.
But wrapping this up before we move to the next thing, we've seen immigrants coming in here that they have. They're terrorists, all right?
Terrorists.
Yeah, they're terrorists.
Not even terrorists. Terrorists.
Terrorists,
Yeah.
all right? Like, we've been having trouble with our packages getting stolen. That's a non-American behavior.
Yep.
All right.
Really, out of your package room?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had
That's my worst nightmare.
we'd have
dude.
law enforcement come today and drag somebody.
Are
or
you
drag
serious?
Oh, we
somebody out.
will. We're pressing charges.
Oh,
all
it's my
right?
worst
or
nightmare.
maybe not.
I
need
get
to talk to my-
anxiety
need to-
every time
need
I
to
get the
talk-
little text
I
like
need
your
to talk
package
to-
is in there.
I need to
It's a
talk to
weird
my
worst
lawyer.
nightmare.
But anyhow,
Or
but
CD.
that's not normal behavior. And the thing that is the saddest is going from a high trust society. It was beautiful. I've been coming here since I was 6. All right, and I was always looking forward to be here. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna go there. Everything is gonna be perfect, clean. Like I'm gonna have such a great time. It's gonna be so safe. And then I went to school in California, and I was like, oh, we're in a decline. The highways are not looking as good. This is not as safe. I got my passport stolen. And then this third time around that I came with Biden, I'm like, this is not good at all.
Well,
you know,
the mass third world immigration is just a scaled up version of what every communist revolution has ever done, which is as soon as the communists have enough influence, they empty the prisons. They take over, they dump all the convicts back into society.
And third world's the convicts in this situation.
Yeah, they're not going out with instructions of like, all right, you guys, I need you to go commit acts of violence here. I need you to loot these stores. They just know they're going to do it. They know that the worst elements of society are going to go cause the problems that cause the chaos they need to take over.
Yeah.
So when you bring in all the third world's worst people,
the worst.
where Castro was at one point quoted as, I flushed the toilets of Havana into Miami.
Thanks.
Yeah. Like,
Well, that's what they're
they,
doing.
they emptied the prisons and they shipped out all the people they didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
That's who is coming from all the third world countries that are shipping their people off here. People they don't feel like dealing with. Criminals, violent individuals that are just causing a problem for them. Like, fine, get out of here, go to the United States, you're their problem. Those people will come across open borders and cause problems without any direction whatsoever.
Yeah, they don't need any direction. That's why I can't call false flag immediately, because you have some savages, Brandon.
I just can't think of think of one terrorist attack that doesn't have the government's fingerprints on it. I just
but
can't.
you have some savages out there. So talking about bad behavior
sophisticated.
and packages being stolen, like our mail room. All right, we're gonna go to the next story. I know nothing about this, but Connor apparently went on this rabbit hole. I heard Brandon talking about this once or twice.
Yeah, I'll mostly just be listening in for this one too.
Yeah, so I guess if I got to be the one to jump on this, let's get into it. Here's the story of how Israel built its nuclear arsenal. History time, kids.
Yeah.
Yay!
So we're talking about the other nuclear power in the United States. If you are against Middle Eastern countries having secret nuclear arsenals that they acquired through illicit means, congratulations, you're against both Iran and Israel. So since the 1960s, when they first got this whole program started, the Israeli nuclear program has abided by nuclear ambiguity. They do not confirm how many they have, where they're located, or even if they exist. Israel has never officially confirmed that it has a nuclear arsenal. It's just assumed that they do. Experts suggest that they have anywhere between 80 and 90, with some as high as like 300, although those are the extreme upper limits. But technically speaking, we have no idea how many they have. They're not party to nuclear non-proliferation treaties, and they are exempt from inspection by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which every other group that has nuclear energy and nuclear warheads can be inspected by this group.
That's what Kennedy was giving them a hard time about.
Yes. So the way it got started was there was a facility called the Dimona Nuclear Reactor, which has since been renamed to the Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center, that they opened up disguised as a textile mill. And then when people said, hey, that's not a textile mill, they said, you're right, it's actually a metallurgical research facility. Hey, that's not actually what you're doing there. Okay, you're right, it's just a different kind of... They changed the kind of factory it was like 4 times before people finally said, hey, like you're enriching uranium. And then they said, all right, fine, it's like for nuclear energy. They're not actually doing, nuke building. It's just for research development.
Right.
So inspectors go in, they give them a tour of fake buildings they built. They built fake walls over the elevators to show that, oh no, this is just a hallway. There's no way to get down to the reactor from here. They take them into fake control rooms with panels showing false readings on reactors that don't exist, video footage of things taken in places that you cannot get to. The whole smoke and mirrors routine to stop.
How do we know this?
This has all been disclosed since then. Like, this is a declassified satellite footage of it.
But who's reporting that they were being fooled by these people?
all the reports have come out afterwards. We can drop some links in the description when we're done here of like the Associated Press just broke it down. Like this has been common knowledge since like the 60s.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to give a Trump citation, which is I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. Like these are actual like declassified documents and things they've admitted to freely of like, yes, we freely acknowledge that we ran this op, but we weren't going to let the world know about the nuclear secrets. And honestly, yeah, I can't blame them.
Right.
If some foreign power comes in and, hey, let us inspect your nuclear arsenal. No, we're not going to let you do that. They initially said, it was a desalination facility, metallurgical research, textile mill, but they have, for decades now, been able to develop all of this completely secretly. They don't have to disclose anything. They don't have to communicate with anybody. The person who is most opposed to that, President John F. Kennedy. Brandon, you just commented on that a little bit.
You knew it all too well.
Yeah. He was aggressively agitating against allowing them to become a nuclear-armed power. Then his head gets blown off, and suddenly every subsequent president is totally on board with it.
Yep.
That's a leap. Come on.
I see it. I see the connection, Connor. Don't worry.
I see it.
I'm not saying there's a connection. I'm just saying there was a policy change immediately after. And make of those facts whatever you will. But 1969 agreement. We have this photo here between Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir and President Nixon. That is when the United States agreed that we would no longer put pressure on Israel to disclose their arsenal. They didn't have to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And in exchange, Israel would never disclose what they have and would never publicly conduct nuclear testing. So they've never detonated a nuke in any way we can prove for testing purposes. And the rest of us agreed to stop asking questions.
Wow.
The meeting where they agreed to that was attended by multiple White House aides. It was top secret in 1969. One of the people in attendance was Henry Kissinger.
Oh.
Brandon, would you give us a little breakdown of who Henry Kissinger was and what he did?
Oh, he's a committee of 300 guy. He started off like in the military during World War II time and basically schmoozed all the right people. He was a really smart guy, and he's kind of like a Dick Cheney guy, where you just play the game, you're all in, you keep secrets, you keep your mouth shut when you're supposed to, and then the world becomes your oyster at some point when you prove that you could be trusted by enough people. So he was like the foreign policy wizard, they like he's like in the Secretary of State Hall of Fame. He was Secretary of State and National Security Advisor at the same time, so had a whole lot of power. He's the one who kind of shuffled us into bringing China into the global economy.
That's a great story.
The ping pong thing.
And him flying.
And he was voted the sexiest man in the world at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at most available photos of him.
He's not good looking.
Yeah, he should not have carried that title.
But he's like he said power is an aphrodisiac all on its own or something.
I mean, he may have had a point, because if he's able to negotiate backroom deals like that,
he had some game.
Yeah, definitely able to schmooze some people. A lot of what was known about Israel's nuclear arsenal came from a whistleblower in 1986 named Mordecai Vanunu, who used to work at the facility, took a bunch of pictures, then leaked them to the British press. The Mossad lured him to Rome, kidnapped him, and imprisoned him for 18 years.
Nice.
He then lived the rest of his life in Israel, never allowed to speak to someone not from Israel.
Wow.
Jeez.
Very hostile.
Oh my gosh.
But the question that people have to ask is, how did Israel acquire all the materials to build its nuclear weapons?
Yep.
And some of it came from France, who they had an agreement with to help build that secret facility in the first place. In the 80s and 90s, they got really close with South Africa. Under the apartheid government, they were able to exchange yellow cake uranium for some, technological secrets and stuff. But it seems like the bulk of it came from an event called the Apollo Affair, or the Numek Affair, if we can throw this up. Between 1957 and 1968, nearly 300 pounds of highly enriched uranium went missing from the Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation in Apollo, Pennsylvania. Here we have the headquarters of this building, as well as the guy who founded the company, Dr. Zalman Shapiro. This guy was not only a former Manhattan Project scientist, but he was also a diehard Zionist who was devoted to supporting Israel at all times.
I'll do it.
They tried to figure out where 300 pounds of enriched uranium went. Shapiro said it was just lost because of shoddy bookkeeping. Like, oh, we forgot to carry a 1 in this year, and then this year we recorded something twice, and it was all just shuffled around. Bureaucratic incompetence led to 300 pounds of enriched uranium disappearing. The U.S. intelligence agencies, almost from the start, believed that was untrue, and they believed Shapiro had personally transported that over to Israel.
Wow.
The FBI and the CIA investigated, but they came up with no concrete evidence and never decided to prosecute anybody, although they concluded with high confidence that Israel was currently in possession of the uranium. The uranium has never been found. Nobody knows what happened to it.
Wow.
But how do we know that this guy was involved in these things? Well, Zalman Shapiro had several secret meetings with this guy named Rafi Eitan, who was one of Israel's most legendary and enigmatic intelligence figures. He joined Shin Bet, which was the original Israeli intelligence service, then went on to become a founding member of the Mossad. So the guy who founded the Mossad traveled to the United States and met with Zalman Shapiro at the headquarters of NUMEC right before all this uranium went missing. It is believed that during that time, they engineered the handoffs. And part of how we know that Rafi Eitan was a high-level Mossad spy is because of an incident called the Jonathan Pollard affair in the 1980s, when Eitan was the point of contact for a guy named Jonathan Pollard, who is a U.S. naval intelligence analyst who was recruited to hand over thousands upon thousands of classified documents to Israel regarding American nuclear secrets, things going on in Pakistan and the Middle East, tens of thousands of pages of sensitive materials. Pollard was caught and arrested in 1985. Eitan fled to Israel and was never extradited. And Pollard was imprisoned, or sentenced to life in prison, served 30 years, and was then paroled in 2015.
Oh, wow.
He went to Israel and was immediately granted citizenship and a hero's welcome by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Hero's
If we show this next picture on the following slide.
How old is he right now?
He's pretty old.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy who's, like I said, he spent 30 years in prison.
Right.
But he was met by Netanyahu, received warmly, and has since made many public statements critical of the U.S. intelligence community and has asserted his undying loyalty to Israel.
Wow.
So, why we want to bring this up is that nuclear power in the Middle East has become this very hot-button issue right now. We just conducted a bunch of strikes on Iran to prevent them from developing bombs, and yet our closest ally in the region got their own nuclear arsenal, which they've never confirmed they have, by the way. They got that the same way they get a bunch of other stuff, which is by taking it from us whether we want them to or not. So, now that the history lesson is over, guys, your thoughts. And Amy, I'm dying to know what the chat is saying about this, if you can tell me after Brandon goes.
Well, I ran a poll. I said, should Israel have a nuclear weapon? Only 31% of the chat said yes. 69%, as of right now, have said no. They're definitely finding this super informative. If you guys have specific questions, I'm going to be looking at the chat. Go ahead and send them through. But yeah, I mean, as soon as all of this started coming out, I mean, and I'm pretty uneducated, but I saw that side-by-side chart of Israel versus Iran and, like, are they in the non-proliferation treaty? Yes. No. Iran is the one that said yes. Israel is the one that said no. Do they submit to inspections? Yes. No. Iran is the one who said yes. Israel's the one who said no. If anybody is should be more closely monitored, shouldn't it be the ones who have the weapons, who aren't submitting to any type of inspections, who want this to be secretive and concealed? That's my
it's a pretty logical thing to say.
What I hate though, I hate this. I hate that verbalizing that will get you labeled an anti-Semite when it's like I would apply that standard to every other country in this entire world. There needs to be some level of accountability when you're literally talking about weapons of mass destruction. I don't know if it's anything legitimate or anything we can put credence in, but I saw a lot of people sharing something about the Samson option as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was going to bring that up.
Is it too spicy to talk about?
No, I was literally going to.
Brandon, do you want to take that one, or I've already jumped on the grenade this episode?
Yeah, no. So apparently there's this agreement. It's technically unofficial, but they say that if like all else failed and things looked like they were going downhill for, is it just Israel or is it any country? I think it's just Israel, right? So they say that they would basically like set off nukes, blowing up everybody, including themselves, if it looked like they were like basically getting overthrown.
Yeah. It's a reference to the story of Samson from the Bible, who has been captured and blinded by the Philistines, and he's at the end of his life. There's nothing he can do, but he's been given super strength from God. So he's chained up in a temple. When he does it, he knocks over the pillars, killing everyone in it along with himself. The Samson option, books have been written about this. Like Brandon said, it exists in kind of the shadowy recesses of government policy. It's never been enacted, but it's been proposed and discussed extensively.
Right.
That if Israel loses a war, it's about to be destroyed, they deploy their nuclear arsenal against not only everyone attacking them, but everyone they think should have helped.
Right.
So let's just blow up the entire Middle East. We have a couple targets in Europe and the United States as well. And there have been people quoted as saying, like, better a nuclear winter than a world without Israel and other things of that nature.
That's a little extreme.
It's you'd think.
Just a little bit, Brandon. Jeez.
But again, that's based on a nuclear arsenal that they've never actually confirmed they have.
Yeah.
So if you really want to get conspiratorial about it, Israel has no nukes. They made the whole thing up, and it's just all posturing and bluffing of like, yeah, we definitely in there. There's a bunch of big scary nukes. Like, have you ever actually gotten into the theory that nukes aren't real?
I've heard it
At
before.
all? Like point blank period?
Nuclear weapons either.
What about Hiroshima?
That wasn't technically a nuke.
That we detonated giant conventional explosives. Because think about what they tell you.
Those are atom bombs,
Yeah.
a little bit different than
Yeah.
nukes.
Every time a nuclear warhead goes off, it's like, oh, there's radiation that'll last thousands of years. There's a radiation leak in Chernobyl. The area is still not inhabitable after all this time, and it won't be for, what, like a couple centuries still? Why were people able to go back and start cleaning up and living in Hiroshima like a week later?
And why did tourists
It was
go
a
to...
week later? I didn't know that.
Within a very short amount of time.
Okay, so what are the
there's
long-term
no-
effects? Have there been a bunch of kids born with deformities and things of this nature in
Chernobyl,
Hiroshima?
yes. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there's no record of, mass cases of cancer and deformities and other radiation-related illnesses.
Well, that's
because,
pretty
like Brandon
frickin'
said,
interesting.
they're A-bombs, not nuclear warheads. A little bit different. But what they've been pushing for, as they continue to develop these, allegedly, is they want more explosions, less radiation. They want them to be more devastating with less radioactivity over time.
Gotcha. We did have a question here. Any idea where the nuclear material that came out of the USSR went to? Asked Bob Mueller and Hillary Clinton and the Podestos, etc. $8 million a quarter pounder.
Is that a paid chat?
Yeah.
So there was nuclear material that left the Soviet Union. I'm not familiar with that
I'm
one.
not familiar with this.
Well,
And
I'd imagine if it was leaving the Soviet Union, it went to all the failed Soviet states to be broken up into arsenals that are probably still hidden there now.
I don't know. Wrapping this up, I think Connor, great job. This is incredibly interesting. I think we're stretching the boundaries here a little bit. I don't want to know if nukes are real or not. I hope in my lifetime I never see a nuke go off
Only
ever.
been used one time.
Question: would Netanyahu rather go to jail or deploy the Samson option? Because I mean, that's like.
Oh, Brandon, come
What?
on!
Well, I know we were so close.
No, come on. Let's go. Let's move on. Talk about something I know about. Is the big beautiful bill.
Is that the first segment?
What?
Oh, that's next.
Yeah, we're next. We're gonna stop talking about bad big bombs, and we're gonna move to the big beautiful bill.
Okay, with a transition like that, I can't say no.
You're a beautiful transition, all right?
Yeah.
But make the best transitions. And we've been talking about this all day with Amy because it's our favorite topic. It's probably the only thing we have in common now. I'm just joking, Amy. So this been on the mainstream media for a long time. I think it's been over a month in the news cycle. Connor.
Yes, the Mike Lee's land grab was proposed like maybe a week or two ago at first. It took off.
Let me
talking
be
about the
more
big,
clear.
beautiful bill
By
Yeah.
the way,
Yeah,
they stole this idea from me. By the way, I said this idea 5 years ago.
What?
The using federal land as an asset.
Brandon, I think we're gonna disagree tremendously on this.
I know, but I'm just saying for the record, they
But just
took,
for-
they took this idea from me.
Yeah,
Me?
Humberto, if you
No,
want to
like
talk about
the administration took this idea from me. I said this idea years ago, and I'm glad they're running with it now.
So the Trump administration took this
I was the
idea
first
from
one
you.
to say this.
I don't think
I'm
nobody's
going to
ever
be
done-
completely honest with you. I put more credibility in the Israeli nuclear program than I do in the Trump administration taking inspiration from the things.
I'm not
you
saying
said
they like
5
heard
years
me
ago.
say it and they said, "Oh, this random kid said it. Let's
put
do
it
it."
into the ether,
Right.
into infinite
And then-
intelligence, and then Trump
put this on the
surfed it from his
zeitgeist.
I
brain.
said it, then a few other people said it, and then it made its way up to Trump. So
Trump
I,
stared deeply into his orb and contemplated the mysteries of the universe, and it came to him through the spirit of.
when
Brandon
he hears a
Aceto.
good idea, he goes with it.
Yeah,
But I
yes.
said it well before he said it.
All right.
Humberto,
All right, on the
the
record.
big beautiful bill idea, like that's been probably almost 2 months now.
Over
They've
2
been
months.
debating
All
Yeah.
right. And
It's been
and
super
and
contentions.
I love this segment because maybe the big beautiful bill will come and go, but this is bigger than this. This is a cautionary tale. Cautionary tale on how bad things can get, how bad omnibus bills are. Because we had this on the news for how long it was, like 2 months, and then not until like 2 or 3 weeks that we start picking up these things.
And same with the AI provision, that there weren't any regulations
saying at the
on
same
AI.
time, I need to give a disclosure and being very clear. I'm right behind the administration. I think Trump is getting the right track, and I support the big beautiful bill as hard as I can support the big beautiful bill.
wow.
I'm
Ice
not-
agents, stand
I'm not,
down.
I'm not being funny. I think the spirit behind the bill and what he's trying to do is extremely noble and necessary. And let's get it straight
I
into
wonder
the segment.
how much he actually knows about it, but go on.
What do you mean? Go on.
well,
I said I wonder how much he actually knows about the bill, but go
That's
on.
what you're seeing. Like every time they debate it in the House or the Senate, the House passed its own version after a great number of revisions. The Senate's doing the same thing right now, of the whole process where they have to keep cutting and adding and.
Because nobody's read the thing.
Yeah, that's the problem with these omnibus bills that are thousands and thousands
Lobbyists
of pages.
wrote it.
I agree with what Humberto was saying, is that I understand the spirit behind it. It's basically just a big dressed up budget reconciliation bill. And what
With
Trump
the tax cuts.
With the tax cuts. And what Trump is trying to do is use the budget reconciliation process to get his agenda codified into law before they can erase it. Because if they pass the budget reconciliation without any of those provisions, when it comes time for those bills to be introduced on their own, the Democrats are going to hijack the process and make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So he has it tacked on to important legislation to make sure they have to debate it. The problem, as always, is the multi-thousand-page bills. They have little provisions slipped in there, but you get the big flashy ones like, oh, no tax on tips. Look back to a couple weeks ago where we talked about why that may or may not be a good idea. And then they get, AI regulations. Well, that's not great, but I can understand it. But then this one that Humberto is about to talk about is a huge issue for a lot of people.
It's a huge issue for some people. At the same time, it could be a huge blessing from some other people, right? So, Jay, could you pull up the article? I think it's on the next slide. All right. Proposed sale of millions of acres of public land and the GOP budget bill prompts backlash. All right. This right here, I think they want to sell between 2.2 and 3.3 million acres. Like, can you picture what 3.3 million acres is?
I know how much land the government owns. It's like 30% of the country.
Yeah, well, it was that map on the
Right.
first slide. That's a map of federally owned land.
On the west, on the east, there's a lot too.
Yeah.
So this land is currently being managed by the government. It's called the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Forest Service.
So I do support BLM,
Yeah.
the Bureau of Land Management.
You know what? Out of all government, agencies, I think the U.S. Forest Service and the land management, they do an okay
What
job.
about missing 411?
Well, that's our free.
They're not doing a great
cases.
job of managing the unimaginable horrors that live on the land, but,
But if you
the
guys,
land itself is pretty.
but if you guys have ever visited one of those places, like usually they're pretty well kept.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wanted to go before I learned the whole thing.
Yeah.
what about people missing?
Yeah, I wanted to go to all of them, but now.
Well, for example, my wife and I went on our honeymoon in Glacier National Park up in
nice.
Montana.
Ooh.
Stunning.
Yeah.
I heard Montana's
It's
beautiful.
It's
Yeah, it's
gorgeous. Like
ridiculous.
the valley where it's located, it's basically a giant bowl. There's a little tiny airport in the town of Kalispell. You fly in there. We stayed in the town of Whitefish, which is right outside the park. You drive in, and it's right on the Canadian border. It's stunning. Beautiful lakes, pristine mountains. We were there in July, and half of the park hadn't even thawed out yet. It was inaccessible because it was still frozen over.
Wow.
Just mind-blowingly beautiful. And part of
Yeah.
why these places are so beautiful is because they are left alone. It's because they don't really even need to be maintained. There's just people who are there watching for poaching and wildfires.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't need to. You don't need to go maintain a mountain spring if you don't have anybody up there throwing trash in it.
Yeah. True.
How do you feel about it, Amy? I know you love being in nature and doing natural things.
Yeah. I mean, I did more so in Hawaii, to be fair. I mean, I was definitely frolicking a lot more in Hawaii.
We
going
all
the
used to
beach a
love
lot
nature
more,
until
and-
we started working here in a hangar with no windows.
Dude, yeah, I mean,
Now we're shriveled cave
Beautiful
creatures.
hanger.
My skin does not touch sunlight. Usually, this is indeed a fake tan. Sorry to inform all of you, but no, I don't like this. There's quite a few things inside the big beautiful bill that I don't like. I mean, there are things that I like as well, and I get that Trump had a mandate when he came into office. There's a certain amount of things that he ran on that probably got him elected. One of the big ones was the economy. You know, he wants to bring back the tax cuts and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. There's a lot of great things in there. But then herein lies the issue. They're hoping that something like this, like your distaste and anger about this or the AI provisions or whatever it may be, that won't outweigh you being excited or happy or content with the things you perceive as good inside of the bill, like saving money.
I personally think this is being blown out of proportion. I think the zoning laws that they're trying to push so we can get nuclear plants, because we're way behind, they're super important. They're going to get a lot of backlash, right, Brandon?
Yeah, but we should put them everywhere. I mean, like, look at that, though. You know, that means the government owns more land than us. Like, we're acting like they're gonna just like cut down all the trees and take all the national forests away. Like I'm sure some spots will be protected more harshly than others, like the actual national parks, like the best spots. But I don't see a good reason for the government to own that much land. And I think like we can make better uses out of it if we like use that timber, or if we build housing on that in that land instead of just like what are we doing with it right now?
Well,
like,
let's circle back around to our earlier discussion on the nationalism versus budget hawk argument.
Yeah.
Do we need to bulldoze millions of square miles of pristine American wilderness to build more housing if we just crack down on the unrestricted number of people coming to live in the country legally and illegally that is requiring us to build more housing in the first place? And this is part of the problem, because they're talking about, oh, we're going to sell it off. Who's going to buy it? It's not going to be you and me going out and BlackRock and China.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the Chinese farmland situation.
If there is going to be
Why
any,
isn't that in the bill, by the way?
it should be. That would be the
should
biggest
be.
beautiful, biggest, most beautiful thing we could do is banning China from owning any land in the United States. But this map of land here,
They can't even stop them here in Florida.
if there is any housing built on this land, it is going to be Section 8 low-income migrant tenements. The rest of it will probably be turned into industrial zones, and more accurately, industrial dumping grounds for massive companies to come in, buy up, build Amazon warehouses and factories. It's going to end up polluted, and we're going to get BlackRock, who owns all the limited housing they build, and China, who owns everything else. This is not a huge win for us. And Brandon, I'm going to kick it back to you in a second, because I know what I'm about to say is going to piss you off.
Oh, okay.
Teddy Roosevelt established the National Park Service. I know you have your qualms about Teddy Roosevelt, and I know you have the qualms about national parks, but that is an incredibly important thing. It should be the business of conservatives to conserve. The fact that we have allowed blue-haired liberals to co-opt environmentalism is ridiculous. We have these things established where there is a reason the government manages these things, is because it is not up to private companies to sell off or to exploit to their advantage. The government says this is held in a trust for the people. When you look at these pristine forests and rivers and valleys and mountains and everything, it's meant to be held as a resource because it is beautiful and it is untouched. So to try to say, oh, let's sell it off, and I'll give the floor over to you for your pushback on Teddy Roosevelt and such. But
yeah. So, I mean, I love the national parks. I think that was a good idea, actually, by him. And, I mean, he got to do that because of the surplus that came from McKinley. But first of all, I don't think that we use like a lot of these areas like the best that we could. I think that like the national parks can be preserved. While like that's not all national park, like portions of it are, but like it's literally more than the privately owned land. So I don't think the government necessarily like puts the land to the best use they could be. Like again, I don't like that lumber's at an all-time high. I don't like that we have a 4 million person housing shortage. And yeah, sure, part of that's immigration, but part of it's that we used to build 500,000 homes a year, and now we build 50,000 homes a year. So, like that should be dirt cheap. Like we're the second biggest holder of lumber in the world. So, I think we should be using these resources in a smart way. Like now, and granted, like I am fearful of like them using this in the wrong way. Like if like they shouldn't. Like I don't know why Trump hasn't brought up the Chinese farmland thing. That's really weird to me. And I think BlackRock should be kind of limited in what they could do with buying real estate because they're it's kind of building a real estate monopoly. But I think a lot of good could be done with this. But yeah, no, I definitely don't have confidence that they will do it the right way. Because like I said, I do think I'm truly. As far as I can remember, I said this before anybody in the administration said it. I said this like 5 years ago that we should do something with all this land the government owns, but I don't know if they're going to be smart with it. So that is, I guess, like my one hesitation to being excited about is like I don't know what they're going to do with it, but you could do a lot of good with privatizing this land.
I mean, Mike Lee, the Utah senator who put it forward, already walked it back. He said, okay, I hear the pushback, which actually great response from a member of Congress to like hear constituents being mad about something, say, okay, fine, I will acknowledge and revise. He just hasn't put forward the new version yet, which means the old version might still be in effect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some action on that
Now,
would be
at
great.
the same time, I would love to be the proud owner of a waterfall. Like, can you own a waterfall?
Yeah.
Do you know any
could I-
waterfall owners?
Yeah.
Do I know waterfall owners?
Yes.
First of all, we're in Florida where there aren't that many waterfalls to begin with.
Well,
But I don't know if you can own
Yeah.
water like
waterfalls
that.
on your property. Yeah. Look at the those California guys who have like 1 trillion gallons of water.
That's right.
The Resnicks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot
that's
about
a
them.
whole different can of worms.
Oh, what company
Kettle
are they
of
with
fish.
again? That's like
What was
Nestle?
it? No,
Or
Smart Water.
No,
or
the
something.
wonderful company.
Right, the wonderful
Right,
company.
yes.
They
The
have
pistachio guys.
the Fiji
Pistachios,
water.
Fiji water, avocados. I don't know.
So
Good
they
for
could-
them.
they could build
you know?
waterfalls.
Good for them. They took advantage of the system, and that's capitalism for you,
by
baby.
siphoning off
All
the
right?
water paths.
But let's move on. This actually really,
Actually, you know what? I'm against it because the Resnicks and what they did with the land, I'm against it.
Oh, Brandon,
Should be
that's
the
what
cautionary tale.
that's what's going to happen.
I know.
Yeah,
We
100%.
we can't even keep the Chinese from owning land right next to our military bases. So what are we doing? Ownership should be solely American. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like that leaves me out of the pool.
Even certain kinds of American, I don't want. Like, do you want all that land to go to Jeff Bezos to build Amazon processing centers?
Right.
Because that is what it would be used for, and they would make the argument very compelling. Of we're going to bring
Jobs.
10,000 new jobs to this small area that's near the national park or whatever federal land we just got.
Yeah.
Massive warehouse. The shipping is going to be so much more efficient. You'll be able to get your Amazon packages in a day instead of a week. We're going to revolutionize everything. And on and on and on it will go. One more gigafactory, one more electric vehicle manufacturing center. We're going to revitalize the American auto industry by building new centers for Ford and all these other companies. Made in America. But do we want to trade pristine land for
New stuff.
for new stuff? And that is the endless grind of industrialization and capitalism. And that's why you can't mistake capitalism for a moral philosophy. Capitalism is the best economic system we have, but it is an economic system. It doesn't tell you what's right and what's wrong. It just tells you what makes money and what doesn't. So that's
a
why
great point,
it's
Connor.
better than communism,
Now-
but it's certainly not a way to decide
if
things are good or bad.
If you want to get technical, capitalism is the worst form of free market.
Who came up
economics.
with the term?
Yeah.
Huh?
Who came up with the term capitalism?
Yeah, Marx.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Marx. It was a French philosopher before Marx, but Marx was the one who popularized Das Kapital on his very famous and toxic book that turned this.
Yeah, and we have no
Planet
semblance.
into
We have
a
no
worse place.
semblance of a free market, and that's why
We don't.
things got so shitty.
We don't. So now this real sad, close to my heart. I love, going to church every Sunday. We have our church crew. Shout out to Vinny. I missed him. Last weekend, like we literally religiously go to church every Sunday. Some of the crew here also goes there. We have beautiful church services, breakfast in the morning. It's my favorite time of the week. So this really is close to my heart, and it's just very sad. On Sunday, a shooting at Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan, was attacked by a 30-year-old suspect with a truck, allowing security guard to fatally shoot the assailant before he could enter the building. All right, so he was stopped by one of the security guards, and then the security guard was also wounded with a gunshot to the leg, but no other congregants, that's a good word, were harmed. Can we play the video?
Yeah, it's not a video of the shooting, I don't think.
It's a video of the site.
Yeah, it was a recording inside the main sanctuary.
Nothing graphic.
Of everyone escaping,
yeah,
basically.
it just
and
shows the
walking
chaos
away.
that broke out here.
Yeah. Oh. Come on, everybody to the back. Please, everybody come to the back. Come to the back. Don, they gotta come. They gotta come. Come on.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Go.
Out, I don't think is a good idea. Come on here.
Yeah, I mean,
That guy's chilling.
Yeah, I was
the
gonna
lost
say.
one.
Can
He's
you
like, they
imagine
took
being
him
in
out.
that
It's fine.
situation though, of like, you're just,
With your
just
kids
in church
there.
with your kids
Yeah.
on a regular Sunday, and this is a very real concern because growing up in the church with a dad who is a police officer, always situationally aware to try to see what was going on. We always, sat towards the back of the auditorium so he could keep an eye on like the door next to us and who was up front just in case something went down and we had to get out of there as fast as we could.
Is he strapped like in church?
I can neither confirm nor deny that. But
I was gonna say like I think that like just like at schools, teachers should be strapped, and I think like whether it's priests or people who go there should be encouraged to be strapped because it's like a high risk place.
It depends on the church and the denomination. Some of them you're allowed, some of them you're not allowed. Is it a private building?
yeah.
The most dangerous place in the world is gun-free zone.
Yeah, it
So
is.
true,
The,
yeah. Australia.
This whole situation,
Yeah.
once again, for the umpteenth time, proves the narrative of good guy with a gun stops bad guy with a gun. This guy came in with a rifle, somebody knocked him over with a truck and allowed the security guard to get there and shoot him dead. And there were zero
Exactly.
casualties.
Right.
That is a miracle. It's a blessing from God.
Yes.
But it's also shows that like there are churches being targeted by crazy people
and it's
because
very-
they think they are still soft targets.
And it's been happening a lot. It happened a lot this weekend. All right.
Well, before we do that, throw up the last picture real quick because I saw as soon as that video came out of the shooting happening, everybody was like, "This is the Iranian sleeper cells triggered. They're going after churches. Everybody stay strapped. Everybody stay on your guard." This is actually the driver's license photo of the guy, not an Iranian sleeper agent. If we can go to the last slide real quick.
His name is
Yeah.
Brian Anthony Browning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, if we can go one back.
Yeah.
There we go. So, not an Iranian sleeper agent. He seems like your run-of-the-mill nut job who got a hold of guns. His mother was a member of the church at one point. So, they're still trying to figure out a motive.
Christianity's
I
under attack.
I doubt we'll
man.
get an answer to that.
Here and everywhere. Wasn't there within the same week? Was it in South Africa? There was an attack on another church somewhere internationally as well.
I think that's
Yeah,
the one you
that's
have
it.
now.
We're going up to next.
Oh,
And-
okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Unfortunately, people weren't as lucky
In that one, that's
in
what I
Syria.
thought.
This
Yeah.
happened in Syria.
Syria, yes, that
Syria.
was
It
it.
was the Mar Elias Greek Orthodox Church in Damascus. By the way, it's a shame what's going on. Damascus is one of the most history-rich
Yeah.
cities in the planet, bar none. All our ortho bros, our heart goes out for them. Unfortunately, 20 people died that day, 50 people injured. A a guy came in, with a suicide vest. I don't know if I can say those words, and blew himself up in the middle of the church, causing major damage. All right. This is right after Syria has taken over, and all the neocons were happy about it. That the head of Syria was replaced by a Islamic State agent.
They
and now
identified this
is
guy
wearing a
as
suit.
ISIS.
Yeah.
The bomber was an ISIS agent. ISIS is back.
Jeez.
And like Humberto was just saying, think of all the people who were like chomping at the bit to get Bashar Assad out of Syria, who
Like
celebrated
Netanyahu.
Yeah, him and people in the United States government. They've been talking about getting rid of Assad ever since the Syrian civil war broke out, where they said he was using chemical weapons against his own people, a claim that was never verified.
And even
They just
denied by
ran
the
with it.
Secretary of State.
Yeah, they just ran with it because it not only would have justified a boots-on-the-ground invasion in Syria for yet another regime change, but also caused Europe to throw open its gates to Syrian refugees that got the entire immigration problem started, like almost 10-plus years ago now. But Bashar Assad, for all his negative qualities, whatever they may have been, actually protected Christians in Syria and stopped things like this from happening. And this has become a common occurrence ever since he was ousted.
But going back to Amy's point, F around, find out. Societies, like in general, with a government system, like a history, a composition of people, the way things are done, like thinking that you're so mighty that you can just like topple a regime and add another one on top.
Right.
Like you never know, because they're very.
It's like an organ replacement.
No, yeah. If you think about thermodynamics, all systems, they're bound to be more complex over time.
That's
all right.
true.
And it applies to the human body. Like you might get your liver taken out, and then something else can flare up. And when they do this regime changes, I think Christians as well are the least concerned whenever these things happen. And my thoughts and prayers goes to them. It is very, very sad. I want to see if you guys have.
When did you guys start noticing this trend? Because you said like your dad, when he would take you to services, always on guard, always sitting in the back watching the entrances. Do you guys feel like there is a specific moment in history that we can pinpoint where Christians started to be more persecuted, or like, because it feels like it's gotten like worse. I mean, it's kind of
33 AD.
I know it's always been this way. I know it's biblical, but it feels like things are really ramping up as of late. Like, would you guys agree with that or no?
Yes,
Maybe the
yes and no.
shootings, maybe.
Yeah, like actual like violence.
Bringing it home to the United States is a new thing, but like I say it jokingly, but I'm not joking when I say 33 AD.
Yeah.
The death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is when that whole thing started, and it's kind of been ongoing ever since. Christians in the Middle East, Christians in Africa, Christians in Southeast Asia have been dealing with this for centuries.
Yeah, centuries.
Every major empire, every country that exists in that area of the world has persecuted Christians aggressively. And sometimes it dies down, but there are people right now in China having church services in basements because the government is persecuting them.
Big growth in
Right.
China for Christians.
And that's
But they have to do it in secret.
Every
That's
country that has
crazy.
that is where they see explosive growth.
Yeah.
The church thrives under persecution. And honestly, the people who meet in these places under threat of government-sanctioned execution or ISIS suicide bombings are more passionate and alive in their faith than people who drag themselves out of bed every Sunday to go to their mega church up the road
Because they
and
got the
because
most.
they
That's
feel
so
obligated
real,
to.
Connor.
For
Wow,
sure.
that's so real.
I don't know. Like maybe I go to a high budget church, but we do have 2 police cars and a sheriff's car outside.
Yeah.
All of them armed. You know, like I go in, say hi and whatever, but I know where they're
We
there.
know where they got your back if anything happens.
They're not there for the service.
Yeah.
All right. They're there for serving, but not the service. So this is very sad. I'm glad we brought this up, and we're gonna keep on bringing it up. You know, because we need to bring attention to this.
Well,
It's very
it's
important.
like Amy mentioned, it's a global trend of these are the 2 things we're talking about now, but there was just a mass slaughter of Christians like a week ago in Africa, where a group of Islamic militants descended on a camp where Christians were living and butchered them all with machetes. And the same thing happened like a month ago. And then even you look in the West of there have been like 80 plus churches burned down in Canada. Most of it predicated on the completely fabricated story that they found the remains of indigenous children buried under the churches.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that story.
They said, oh, well, using some ground penetrating radar, we found that there was mass graves, and then they excavated all the mass graves and didn't find a single body. But they got what they wanted, which was activating
The headline.
radical agitators to go start burning down churches.
Yeah,
because it whether it's Islamic militants or angry Canadian leftists, there is an ongoing campaign to suppress and destroy Christianity, as has always been the case.
I mean, and these are very extreme examples, but even today when we film Dangerous Conversations, that one
which comes
video-
out on Friday.
By the way, guys. Yes, Connor has been so amazing at producing the show for me, as he does with this show. But he put up a clip of this woman who was literally for praying silently outside of an abortion clinic. Silently. I don't even know if she even verbalized. It might have just been in her head. But she admitted to praying. She wasn't causing a disturbance, nothing. Took her to jail.
I think we showed that video at the Tommy Robbins interview, right?
It's insane. I think it did. Yeah, I think so. I think I saw that one too.
All right. Now, on happy news, and by the way, to all you tech oligarchs, I love you, all right? Like, I never say no to money or, it's fine. And I'm glad you guys are joining our ranks to protect this great country.
I'm going to talk shit until they give money.
You're going to talk shit until they give money?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
doing the
let's not
opposite
celebrate.
here.
We got 4 new people in the army out of this.
We
It's
have-
not some great
But
triumph for recruitment.
we got 4 great
It's more
people.
symbolic, though.
Yeah.
No, there's more to it.
I know, but
You've
like-
been mistaken.
No, I'm not saying like what they could do is symbolic, but what I'm saying is like the symbolism of this step. It shows who's really in power.
I'm going to explain a little bit what was happening. So I'm going to go straight in. It's the U.S. Army announced last week that 4 senior executives from top technology firms, including the CTOs for Meta, Palantir, OpenAI, and 2 guys from OpenAI. One is the chief product officer, and the second one is the chief research officer. They might be, very smart people. We like smart people.
Chief research officer, your people, Brandon.
So I get in the military.
Does he use ChatGPT?
He works for
Probably.
OpenAI.
He works for it. He works for it.
So if you can pull up the article.
Yep. There we go. Yeah, Palantir, Meta, and OpenAI. They've all appointed members of their executive teams as lieutenant colonels in the U.S. Army.
Wow, and skip the line.
Yeah, and they also didn't have to go through basic training,
Right.
which is
Well, they did it
fun.
remotely, okay? No, I'm being serious.
Basic
I'm
training?
being very serious. I read about it. Yeah, they can serve and do their training remotely.
Imagine
How does that work?
other branches of the military adopting that. Like, you're going through Hell Week,
Right, in
over-
your living
over
room.
Zoom.
In your living room.
So
We just need you to make your bathtub cold and sit in it for 6 hours.
So this unusual move marked the launch of Detachment 201, the Executive Innovation Corps.
Nice.
All right. A pioneering initiative designed to integrate Silicon Valley's cutting-edge expertise with military modernization. All right. We're going to get into that a little bit later. They have to be in for 120 days annually. And what they're actually doing, and this is my opinion, all right? The army, all right? Whenever the government had tech, we're like 10 years ahead of the current tech. You know what I mean, Brandon?
Yep.
Like the microwave, they had it for 20 years before it hit your kitchen.
Right.
And technology is advancing so fast right now, Brandon, that we're in a crossroad where civilian tech or private tech and foreign tech that never happened before, Connor. All right, foreign tech is taking over how fast our government tech.
Well, we give it
It's
all away,
advancing.
so we help them a little bit.
We do give it all away, and then especially in the Russia-Ukraine, war zone, we've seen a level of like on-field, wartime innovation that it's been having everyone, all the higher brass of the Army, the Navy, and Marines rethink what we're doing with our Army. You know what I mean?
Gamer nerds are the future.
We have the whole drone warfare that we're actually very behind. All the drones that we produce, they're amazing. They're incredible. You can start flying them here and then end up in Tehran. But at the same time, they're very expensive. So you have guys on the ground, taping an explosive to. I'm hitting all the code words here, right? I'm hitting all the taping an explosive to a drone, and that is like $600 max. And I think I read about the cheapest drone we're able to make is around $10,000 to $15,000 in a little busing thing.
That's why it's retarded that we're spending $1 trillion on our military budget.
What do you mean? We need to get better.
Because we overspend on
We're
things.
not doing anything really. Like, if you said, we could manufacture drones for that cheap or whatever, but like everything is overpaid, and that was one of the things. Overcharged. That's one of the things Doge found of like.
But didn't do a single thing about.
Yeah, this 10-cent screw cost the taxpayer $4,000.
Right.
Let's lay people off.
Like a basic hammer. It's like
they
this
ordered
magical
50,000
hammer.
of these screws, so that's where most of your budget went. And really, the way to get rid of it is to cut park rangers, but give us all your data behind the scenes because we're interested in that.
Crazy.
But it makes sense of why they'd want these people. It's partially symbolic, but also partially practical. They've basically deputized big tech to help keep the military current with all the technology. I just think it's interesting who they chose.
Yeah, why is OpenAI?
OpenAI, Palantir, and Meta.
I get Palantir.
So all the social media, all the data surveillance, and the AI large language model stuff that aggregates all the information.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting combination that shows where their focus is. It's all very tech oriented. The drone thing they've had for a long time. We've been on drones for quite a bit. It's now at the point where you can go on X and just scroll through an endless feed of Ukrainians committing war crimes with drones that probably costs $50 to manufacture.
And if you really think about it, like I know we trash Facebook all the time, but they're at the bleeding edge when it comes to augmented reality. Right, the biggest selling VR headset right now, and probably history-wise, is the Meta Quest. Right,
I can't think of another.
It's the biggest
VR
selling one,
brand.
right? And that's a game changer, Connor, when it comes to warfare. Because like when you can get augmented reality, like your headset, like your dumbest grunt, like if you put the right information in front of his face, he's gonna be much better. You know what I mean? So I think all this hirings, if you want to say it, they're very strategic.
Yeah, like the guy Palmer Luckey, Oculus, Facebook gave him $2 billion for his company or something. So like they're going full steam ahead with the alternative reality stuff.
Well, I mean, a thing you've been big on and that I have always thought was awesome was the Black Mirror. Right back when that show used to be good, they did that episode where all the soldiers are deployed with VR headsets on, and they're fighting alien mutant things, they think, and then one guy takes his helmet off and realizes they're just gunning down civilians, and it's not actually...
And they're screaming, stop,
help. Yeah, they're not doing what they think they're doing.
I missed that one. That sounds like a really interesting episode.
What, season 2, maybe?
Right,
season 1, 2, and 3 of that show were fantastic, and then all the normies got a hold of it, and then suddenly there's Miley Cyrus and a bunch of gay people in it, and it's not nearly as interesting.
The Miley Cyrus one was okay. Anyways.
Because apparently, most people can't actually kill somebody when they're faced with it. But so that thing helped alleviate that because they thought they were just killing mutants that didn't make human noises.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but think of the broader implications. It died off very quickly because everybody kind of hated it. And
Black Mirror?
No, the metaverse.
Oh, yeah.
Where, remember, they rolled that out, and it's like, this is going to be the new... You're going to build a business in VR. And we were going to have the reality of Ready Player One, which... Why would we want that? The whole point of that story was how much it sucked.
Right.
But we're going to build that. And there were people who were paying millions of dollars for
houses,
virtual property because of its proximity to Snoop Dogg's virtual property.
NFTs because they wanted to hang artwork inside of their VR homes.
Meanwhile, while they were getting everybody plugged into the metaverse, Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg started buying up
Actual
farmland
land.
and like actual commodities.
right.
And, then they shifted over to building doomsday bunkers. But the metaverse, because it looked like a stupid cartoon, never really caught on, and it's still just kind of there. But the idea of moving everything digitally is still a very, very prominent movement.
And I think it eventually is going to happen. Now, I want to show you because you guys, I know you're not big Palantir fans, all right? I am big Palantir fan. I want to get this on the record because this conversation later in life is going to be recorded and analyzed. And I love this guys, and I think they're grateful. They're very grateful people. If you want to show the video of the parade.
Yeah,
Live free or die.
Peter Thiel is a very handsome man. Alex Karp has
Tremendous
great
guy.
hair.
Hey, he helped one of my heroes, Hulk Hogan. Good for Peter Thiel.
No, this is just a photo from Trump's military parade on the
Presented by
Big
Palantir.
Palantir
It's like
float.
presented by Palantir. That was
Nice.
just in the stands. Sponsored, brought to you by Palantir. United States Army has
think-
sponsorships.
I think part of what this is, though, is that they're incorporating this now because I've been saying for a while that eventually the big tech companies are going to be more powerful than the military with the technology they have. Like if Musk builds 1,000 or 1,000,000 robots, then that's more powerful than our
They
military.
pretty much already are.
Yeah.
Like imagine, what someone could do if Musk decided he no longer wanted to cooperate with the United States. What he could do with all the Starlink technology and the
Well, they would probably have
SpaceX
to seize it from
SpaceX
them.
satellite. Yeah, Steve Bannon proposed it, and of course nobody wants to see Trump invoke the wartime powers and
Yeah.
manufacturing acts and stuff against Musk. But if people like that are building critical technological infrastructure, and Musk is just giving out Starlink connections one after
this-
another to anybody who wants one.
And we don't know what his intentions are. Like,
But
I'm
this
still
is-
very
this is-
50-50 on Elon.
This is cyclical, all right? Now the new boys in town are the Palantir boys, all right? Raytheon was all the rage in the 90s, all right? They were sponsoring everything. The good boys at Raytheon, now RTX, and it is what it is. And if you want to talk about oligarchs, okay, we had everyone that was moving steel, that guy, people that were in charge of moving things in trains, like old trains were built by
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers
and the Rockefellers
Morgans,
and all those
yeah,
guys.
all those guys.
Like, it is what it is. All right? It is what it is. And I think this is a smart move from the Army. I'd rather have the Palantir guys work with us than to work with the enemy.
I mean, but you are their enemy.
How am I their
The
enemy?
American people
Eventually.
are their enemy.
Because they think you're pawn scum.
Anyway.
If you look at the commentary we gave during the rest of this episode, it's pretty clear that we will be the enemy eventually if we're not
Yeah.
already there.
Right.
According to Laura Loomer, we are.
Like Amy mentioned, during the LA riots, when Laura Loomer was like, deploy Palantir to find out who all the rioters are.
Yeah.
It's like, well, first of all, why can it do that?
Yeah.
Secondly, why are we okay with that?
Right.
But, Laura Loomer.
There's
is
nothing in the world
definitely-
Trump-
Larry.
Definitely
Larry.
trustworthy.
There's nothing in the world Trump could say that she wouldn't agree with, and I mean, I think that's all you need to know about her.
Good for her.
No, not good for her.
She's full bought in. All right.
What if Trump said, like, I endorse Hitler, and she said, yeah, you know what, we should. Is that okay?
It's fine. If she wants to go all in, good.
No, because it's
You know?
not a thinking person. That's, like, not even a real person.
man.
Well,
wanna-
you can. I ignore her. That's
You want
my,
to talk about who's having the real crash out right now? It's Mark Levin.
Yeah,
Like-
he's the...
That guy used to be so solid.
Really?
Well, have a
I always thought he was, like, irrelevant.
he used to have a reputation for being very
He was like the
solid.
11 o'clock guy because he wasn't exciting or entertaining.
But like
or
his
popular.
name used to carry weight, and now he's just yelling at Marjorie Taylor
So
Greene
his
on Twitter.
appearance carried weight.
I guess, but
No, he's going like full on psycho. Like, I don't know if he's like just emotional about it or if he's being paid, but he's like psychotic, like a war goblin.
yeah, I'm not gonna disagree. But like some of the legendary crash outs of all time are happening on social media because of Trump, Iran, Israel, nukes, Palantir. Like
Yeah.
everybody's going nuts.
That's why keep it chill. Like, jokes aside, thank you everyone for being with us. It's been a wonderful show. Do your own research. Don't take anyone's word at face value.
And connect us if you want to fight with us or ask us
And
questions.
connect all of us
Yes.
if you wanna fight us, if you wanna talk to us, if
There's
you
a
wanna
challenge of some kind going on right now.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, but there's always some next
called,
contest.
it's called the
Go download the app.
Minect Humberto. This is the first thing to like validate the app. You need to send me a Minect to see if it works. So it was fun. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. As Vinny says, love each other. Take care of each other. And we see you next
Wednesday, 4 p.m.
It'll probably be the
unless
same
something
pace.
crazy happens.
Yeah.
It could.
It could.
Bye.
Peace.